removing the drive-through window and stole a cash box with just over $1,400 in it. Last month, police seized the cash box and clothing that surveillance footage showed the perpetrator was wearing. Ferry is being held in the Webster County Jail on a $5,000 bond. He's due back in court on August the 23rd. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. A blend of clouds and sunshine develops this afternoon, high in the upper 70s. Winds out of the northwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, mostly clear skies, a low near 59. By Saturday, sunshine, a high around 81 degrees. Sunday, partial sunshine, a high of 82. Monday, mostly sunny skies and a high around 89. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 74.
Bring a modern touch to your bathroom with Hunter Bath Fans and save with 11% off everything at Menards. The Ellipse Bath Fan comes in a brushed nickel or bronze finish, $88.99 after sale price and 11% off. The Riazzi Decorative Bath Fan features a stylish design, $114.80 after sale price and 11% off. Get 11% off everything at Menards. Good through August 17th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
I'm Jamie Brundage, owner of Historic Bruce Funeral Home. We're a full-service funeral home with an off-site crematory. At Bruce's, we specialize in pre-arrangements and family support before, during, and after the service. We also offer beautiful memorial items to help you remember your loved one forever. Bruce Funeral Home is proud to be by your side every step of the way throughout the funeral process. Historic Bruce Funeral Home, Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
All right, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. I'm Michael Devine, and we're here to tell the truth, make it matter, and never be boring. Joining me in that effort again today is the never boring Dr. Lee Heeb. How are you, Lee?
Hey, good.
All right.
Somebody's telling the truth, by the
way. Well, I can't. Let me pass this on. I believe I've seen video of Hillary Clinton lurking outside Jeffrey Epstein's cell, but I think that may have been.
I thought she was one of the new replacement guards.
Yeah.
No, that's not it.
Yeah, there's some serious conspiracy theories out. I checked out both Fox News and MSNBC, and they're all over this conspiracy theory thing. But on the dark side of this, I was reminded of Johnny Gosch. Yeah, I don't know if you remember that name or not, but he was a newspaper boy in West Des Moines in 1982, and he vanished without a trace. Trace. And his mother, Noreen Gosch, often felt he'd been kidnapped and taken by pedophiles who were attached to a global network. A couple of years later, in South Des Moines, Eugene Martin, a 14-year-old kid, disappeared without a trace. Without a trace. That doesn't happen with your run-of-the-mill, creepy pedophile thug who lives in Iowa somewhere. There's more to this. There's more to the Jeffrey Epstein story and the Johnny Gosch story and Eugene Martin that maybe we'll ever know. I don't know.
Well, I mean, and clearly that's why he's dead. I mean, anybody that thinks this is suicide, I think it's kind of crazy. I mean, even the American public is waking up and not buying this. The thing to say here is, and I want to point out what's happening with Google, too. You know, Google's been lying to us about its search engines, about what it does. And there's a lot of control over Google and the mainstream media by, you can call it whoever you think's controlling all this, but they act in consortium to suppress news they don't want out.
That's right.
And that just came out yesterday or day before by a whistleblower at Google, high-level software engineer, paid $250,000 a year, who now is blowing the whistle and sent 250,000 pages of documents to the feds. So this is all going to come down. But I guess I'm bringing that out because this has been reported. You know, Jeffrey Epstein was sued in 2015 or before that by multiple victims. And he's got lawsuits going on. You know, I don't know where it stands now with his death. But I'm just saying, people knew about this a decade ago. People were trying to scream about it a decade ago. Alex Jones was screaming about it and was deplatformed. And I think, and I told my kids years ago, I said, he's touched a nerve. Why would you take somebody and go after one person this badly? And the answer, I think, is he touched a nerve. And what was he really screaming about? Part of it was this belief that there was a worldwide pedophilic network. Now, this is like drugs. There's big money in it. You got to have a network of supply, and you got to have protection. And the benefit, and what appears to be the thing with Jeffrey Epstein, and I probably don't need to say this because anybody that's paying attention to the news now, I think, is getting this, hopefully, that he was protected by big people, and that there were lots of big people. They found a little black book when he first got picked up years ago, and that was 2015, I think, when he was arrested years ago with all the A-listers and the politicians and big Wall Street guys, big money, big politicians, big media. A lot of these guys were in his book, and so whatever the story is, he had influential friends that kept him out of jail. And he claims, that he was working for the FBI. That's how he got such a light slap on the hand. And Acosta, the guy that was just released from from the Trump administration, he was apparently told at the time to go light on Jeffrey Epstein, to back off, because he was working for them. So the FBI probably controlled Epstein. Somebody did. Somebody in government was using him to trap people. And I just hope his death doesn't completely lose that. But I guess the big point I think we should take away from this is that when multiple people start reporting the same thing, look at the kids in Des Moines. Lots of people have been saying this. By the way, they just prosecuted the Nexium people. They just lost in court because they got convicted of running children across the border. I mean, that was part of their story, is that they were bringing kids from Central America, Mexico, because guess what? Nobody traces them. Nobody cares if they never come back. They don't have parents that are out looking for them for the rest of their lives. There's more to this story than just pedophilia. There's potential organ harvesting. There's murder. There's all sorts of stuff going on with these kids. And it's a tragedy. But people have been reporting it at multiple levels of the media, the alternative media, fortunately, the free press. People like Roger Stone in his book, The Clinton's War on Women, has a huge chapter about this. I mean, he's been writing about pedophilia and Epstein for a long time. Nobody did anything. I mean, it really didn't come until just now. And I think what you're seeing is the whole system starting to crumble apart.
It came to now because it could be linked to Donald Trump. If it had just been the Clintons.
Not getting, that too, but I think they thought so. But I don't think that's what happened. I think the issue is the other way around. Trump isn't involved.
That's right, he isn't.
He's willing to take this on, whereas everybody else, may have been. Even the Bushes come out looking not good in this whole thing. So there are people on both sides of the aisle. It is primarily Democrats, but not all. At the big levels, there are Republicans. There's the royalty of overseas. We had Prince Andrew mentioned in that one document. Who knows who else? There's another example. I don't know if you know this, but in the Netherlands, the royal family has been accused of horrendous things with children for decades, and nobody's done anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
And the parents there are people that have seen weird stuff and seen stuff and have reported that have been told basically to shut up. You've got powerful people that are in the protection ring. But once the whole thing starts to crumble, it's hard to keep all this together. And I think it's going to be incredible watching, but it's also an incredible tragedy for the people involved, the little people, the people like our families in Iowa that lost children to this. And I'll bet those aren't the only ones.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Do you think that let's follow your train of thought here. Let's say everything you just said can be proven in the near future. What we're looking at is that anybody can be got anywhere. If a man is in the Metropolitan House of Detention and somebody got there and killed him, that's a powerful motivator for others not to say anything ever.
Right. Look, this is like the mob. Now, what happened with the mob? First we refused to admit it existed because they convinced us that if you thought they existed, they didn't use the term conspiracy theorist back then, but that's a great way to hide yourself. Like the Communist Party, they've convinced us they don't exist anymore. Oh, you're just, the Communist Party themselves coined the term McCarthyism to damn anybody that went after them. Same thing with the mob. Same thing with these guys. It's a conspiracy. Now they're saying it's a conspiracy theory if you think he didn't commit suicide. Are you kidding me? So you're right. I think, first of all, yes, they have a very big system that's been hanging on. But look what happened to the mob. ultimately, when it started to go, some of the mid-level people started squealing because they didn't want to go down with the ship. And I think that's what we're seeing here. I think we got a worldwide pedophilia network. I think there's lots of players, but now, like, they picked up the Trump administration has made it a priority. They picked up, like, several big players, including the heiress to the Seagram's fortune, the Nexium people, blah, 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 and they're starting to squeal. And as they squeal, we get more names, and we get more pressure on people. And I think that's what's going to bring this down. But the issue about getting to Epstein at the jail, you're exactly right. But again, the people that were involved in that, whoever did it, and I don't for a minute believe, there has not been a murder in that federal protection area for 21 years. Mm-hmm. To believe that even John Gotti survived, So this guy is the most highly profiled criminal they've held in decades, and yet you cannot believe. This would be like if I admitted a high-profile, very important person to the hospital and then just didn't let him be watched. I mean, come on. There's some people you got to. I mean, we try and take care of everybody, just like jails try and be, theoretically watch everybody. But he's a huge target, and you got to know that. And so the people at the top have got to be really pressured on this. And some of them are going to squeal, I think. But they changed the guards. To review all this stuff. He had a roommate. They took him out the day before he was killed. He told people he was going to be killed. He offered to pay for private protection. The cameras didn't function. Multiple cameras didn't function. I can't remember if the blackout happened right at the same time, but I do remember there was a citywide area blackout the same night somewhere. And then the other thing to say is that there hasn't been a murder there, or there hasn't been a suicide there for 21 years. They have paper sheets. This idea that he hung himself with his sheets is kind of unlikely. I've never been in that penitentiary, but everybody that talks about it says this federal program has no sheets and nothing, and those rooms are designed not to be able to hang yourself. On and on and on. They replaced the guards the day before. So suddenly he had new guards that he never had. We don't know about them. And then we were told they were sent home. There's clearly a stand-down order. Robert Barnes talked about this the other day, and he's a constitutional lawyer who takes on all these cases. I mean, he does big tax evasion cases, like I think he did. There was a big actor, Wesley Snipes or somebody. He did but anyway, he does a lot of. He says, I have a lot of clients in these facilities, and let me tell you, people in federal protection like this do not get to commit suicide. They're very well watched. The suicides you hear that take place in jails are in local jails in the state, not in these federal facilities. So it's just hard to believe. It's I just don't believe that kind of coincidence. Even though I do believe once in a while there are coincidences, I don't think it happened here. And then the other question you got to ask yourself is, why did they not? I actually had some personal involvement in this. When the police or the feds, when the FBI knows that there's somebody at risk of destroying evidence, they don't arrest him without first having multiple warrants to go in and take all his properties over. Like they do the drug lords, or like they do somebody with, some kind of, high-level white-collar crime. Not only do they arrest him, but at the same time, they search all his premises. It was how many weeks after they finally went to the island? They find, who knows what was taken out of there? Yeah, I don't know. So I'm only hoping that we have his black book, that we have. That I really hope he has a dead man switch somewhere, so he has sent somebody a lot of information with the. I wouldn't you, to keep yourself alive?
Oh, I would think
say,
so.
Listen, you guys do anything to me, whether it was the Clinton Witness Protection Program or somebody else he was worried about. I'm just joking on that, but not really. Whoever he was worried about, I would think he would tell them, listen, you do something to me, all this is going to be sent to a lot of people. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well,
he was a smart guy.
Truth is treason in the empire of lies.
Yeah.
The truth is the treason now in the empire of lies. And that's kind of what we're dealing with. I've never seen anything like it in my life as far as what's happening in our politics today. the Democrats seem incapable of telling the truth, and I can't let Trump off the hook. My God, he's out there in bizarro world. At times, he wants to buy. What do you think of his idea to buy Greenland? By the way.
Well, it's like Alaska. I don't think it's going to happen, but we'll see. I mean, but well, what was I going to say? There was something else. The whole global network, this whole group of people, they're in league. They also control the media, and I just got to say, I think I think two things are really important. Jeffrey Epstein, I think, is important because it's going to be kind of like the Kennedy assassination. I don't know about you, but for me, even when I was a kid, ever since the Kennedy assassination, I got the impression we weren't being told the truth by the government. I wasn't sure, but I said something isn't right. I sat there and watched Oswald be shot by Ruby.
Yeah.
And Ruby was a known mafia guy. I mean, I think I was 11 years old at the time, but I said, what?
Yeah, really.
I mean, you got to ask yourself, a guy with known illness who is the water's part and he shoots Oswald, it makes you wonder. And I think Epstein is round two of that whole thing, where it's going to shake our belief in the government unless we really get told the truth. And I don't think people are just going to go back to sleep on this. And I think the other important thing is, if this starts coming down, I think we're going to see, look at what's happening in Hong Kong. Freedom is starting to break out all over. People want to be free, and they want to be free to hear the truth. And I think in America, the second big thing that's happened, the guy that just came out about Google said, like a dark weight was taken off his soul when he finally spilled the beans, because he said ever since 2016, he's seen them control what people were thinking by the algorithms that they did in their search engine. And they overtly wanted to keep Trump from getting reelected. And the problem is they're the marketplace for their mission is to be the marketplace of ideas, and they're not anymore. They're a political hack, and I think that's going to come down. And I think we're going to just see a lot of good things to come out of this. I'm hopeful. I think that without this, we weren't going to go anywhere.
I think that's right. I think that's there was a great book out a few years ago called A Callous and Shocking Act. It was about the Kennedy assassination a number of years later. It's the author, and I can't remember what the author's name is. I'd have to Google it real quick. But the author's point was essentially that John Kennedy was assassinated by a Russian Cuba operation, and it could hardly be denied. I mean, Lee Harvey Oswald was in the Cuban embassy just weeks before Kennedy was assassinated. And how did a sullen no-account like Lee Harvey Oswald shoot and kill the President of the United States? After he was arrested, you talked to, and I'm the same age as you are, here was Oswald being led down a corridor, and the reporters are yelling questions at him, and Oswald said, I'm accused of murder of a police officer, and he was. He was under arrest for the murder of a police officer in a movie theater. But he says, I didn't kill the president. I'm a patsy. He kept saying, I'm a patsy.
I think he's exactly right.
Yes, he was right.
That would be a great topic sometime to talk about. I actually have some, I've read about this all my life just because it happened right in front. When you're a kid, I mean, it's just like the big defining moment.
Oh yeah, the entire nation was in mourning.
Also, it turns out as I got older, I got to know people, and some of one of my friends was the chief resident in anesthesia at Dallas Parkland when Kennedy was brought in, and some other of my friends used to hunt down there at Jack Ruby's uncle's place. So there's a lot of stories here, and they all add up to it wasn't just Oswald, even though he might have been a peripheral patsy. He wasn't the only guy there. The other thing I've always said, just peripherally about this, was that someday some mobster's going to, on his deathbed, tell the story. And I really think it was. I lived down in Tucson, where Tucson's pretty mobbed up. The Bonanno crime family came out there in the 40s and kind of did things. Anyway, old Joe Bonanno, before he died, he wrote a book, and I don't remember the name of the book. I've got it here somewhere, but in the middle of the book, I think he tells the story. And I also know I met Oliver Stone's photographer, the guy that did this Kennedy assassination movie. And I met him down on the grassy knoll at Dallas one time, and I talked to him. I said, Joe Bonanno says this, and he said, that's exactly what we have in the book here. There's some story there.
By the way, the book I just mentioned is A Cruel and Shocking Act, not a callous.
Cruel and shocking act, yeah.
Cruel and Shocking Act, and the author is Philip Shenon. It looks like Shenon. I read it a few years ago. You can get it pretty cheap now, but it's a secret history of the Kennedy assassination is how it's described.
Well, and what the Kennedy thing has in common with Jeffrey Epstein is that although there might be just a few hands involved in the actual demise of the victim, there are multiple people that wanted these guys dead. And there were multiple players that would have been willing to contribute something to getting it done. And I think there are multiple people to lose had they not gotten killed. So, time will tell. But I think that there's when you have big organizations that are worldwide, I think we have a lot more international crime and international controlling elements. I mean, look at. I mean, I'm not saying China has anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein, but I'm just saying as an example. Look at what's happening with China. Not only, we've known about the espionage of the Chinese in America for years, and now we've got coming out. They own 5 of the 6 major movie studios. They own a lot of our news channels. If you wonder why I've been watching Netflix. I'm about ready to get rid of them. It always comes up with anti-American crap at the end of these movies now. It's just, the Chinese are okay, but the American military is evil.
That's right.
I think there's, that's another, there really are global factors at play here. And Jeffrey Epstein was a big player on the global scene.
I started to watch on Netflix A History of the 20th Century, I believe, and the narrator was Oliver Stone, who is a liberal, and he was as you mentioned, he was the director and writer of JFK, the movie.
Yeah.
Well, according to Oliver Stone, the Japanese really were misunderstood in the Second World War, and we didn't have to use nuclear weapons because they were already beat. They just refused to surrender. So I guess, according to Oliver Stone, people like my dad, who were in the Marine Corps in Okinawa at the time, waiting to jump off the invasion of Japan, should have just taken their chances. If we need to lose a few hundred more Marines before the Japanese surrender, well, that's just the price we should pay because we're a good and moral people. I turned the TV off. I will never watch that again.
Right. I mean, that's just garbage. I was actually stationed in Japan in the Navy, and I could tell you, at the end of the war, I mean, they were willing to, when talk about invading the homeland, they were willing to fight to the last child. And where I was down in Sasebo, they ran out of metal towards the end of the war. They armed their civilians with porcelain hand grenades. I have one as a souvenir of my basement, yes. And they gave these to all because they had porcelain. They had that. They do a lot of pottery. They're famous for pottery. They had porcelain, so they made these round things, and out of porcelain, they told them how to make them into hand grenades, basically like Molotov cocktail hand grenades. But that's really a point, is that they weren't we wouldn't have lost 100 Marines. We would have lost 1 million people trying to take that island. It would have taken a long time and a lot of people. And the other thing that these people the older people, when I was in Japan, and I took care of the people that were on the doctors that took care of the victims of the American Bomb Casualty Commission. They were the people studying all this stuff. It wasn't the people that lived through the war that were against the bomb. It was the young hotheads that didn't live through it, that didn't understand the numbers. We lost more people in the fire bombings in Dresden and Tokyo and those cities than we did through the bomb. And it saved a lot of lives.
Yeah, the fire bombings of Dresden, those things, and Hamburg, I believe, was the other city. Those are those are unappreciated. That was that was payback for the.
It's just like this. I mean, there's a lot of rosy glasses on the media. They like the liberal media likes to tell you that that's just not the way it really is, because
they have a narrative. They have a narrative that insists that if we'd have been more diplomatic, we could have avoided violence, which is the Democratic Party's answer to practically everything. I mean, remember Obama bragging about diplomatic efforts after he put together that Iran deal, which is a disaster, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so now we see the value of diplomacy. Oh, God, shut up.
Well, and these so-called mass shootings that we've lost, it's tragic that these people get killed in these shootings, but what have we lost over this year? 35 people? Now, keep in mind, the government killed more people at Waco. 3 times as many people at Waco. I mean, they don't consider the fact that, you know, they're just, and I don't think it's just the media in this, but people are statistically just not thinking. You know, it's like the issue of wearing your helmet. I think it's a good idea to wear a helmet when you wear a bicycle, but you can't tell. But it turns out more children die from head trauma on the playground.
Yeah.
You know, falling off. You know, I mean, there's just a lot of statistics like this, but that's just ridiculous. And I'm glad your dad made it back. And
yeah, I was always grateful. Every time I hear some nonsense like that, I think there was the 23-year-old Chuck Devine waiting to invade Japan under these conditions, and that these damn fools are telling us, oh, yes, we had to wait until they came around. I don't think so.
It would have been horrible.
It would have been horrible.
And Okinawa, by the way, was no cake.
Yeah. Dad was there for that too. He was wounded twice during the war. Yeah, he didn't have any time for the anti-nuke nonsense, or we shouldn't have dropped the bomb nonsense. He was pretty convinced that the right thing was done and saved how many million lives, probably. Anyway, Dr. Lee Heeb has been our guest. Thank you, Lee.
Hey, thank you.
You bet. Thank you very much.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
Yes, we're making radio great again here today at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine, your truth master for today. Truth master. I'm sorry, I'm getting out there a little bit. Yeah, the news is next. News and markets and all that sort of good stuff is coming up. And we'll have Ann Meyer in here a little bit later on, ladies and gentlemen. Randy Kuhlman and I will talk sports late this afternoon. That's all coming up at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Sing it, boys.
If my words did glow with the gold of sunshine, and my tunes were played on the harp strung, would you hear my voice come through the music? Would you hold it near as it were your own? It's a hand-me-down. The thoughts are broken. Perhaps they're better left unsung. I don't know. Don't really care. Let there be songs to fill the air. Ripple in still water when there is no pebble tossed, nor wind to blow. Reach out your hand. If your cup be empty, if your cup is full, may it be again, let it be known. There is a fountain that was not made by the hands of men. There is a road, no simple highway between the dawn and the dark of night. And if you go, no one may follow. That path is for your steps alone. Ripple in still water.
What's the biggest rack you ever saw?
You're not going to believe this, but I saw a huge rack once. I know it was a 44.
A 44? Man, I'd like to see that.
Me too.
Yep, that was a nice rack, all right.
Looking for a big rack this year? Then head for the Iowa Outdoor Store, where you'll find everything you need to bag the buck with the big rack. Bring your bow in with you and they'll make sure it's ready for the season. Check out the full line of bows and accessories today at the Iowa Outdoor Store at the junction of Highways 7 and 169, Fort Dodge.
The bakers of Village Hearth are proud to introduce their latest additions to their family of fine bread products. Pennsylvania Dutch potato rolls. Baked the old-fashioned way using quality ingredients like real potatoes and honey. Their unique recipe makes these the most moist and flavorful buns around, just like homemade. So once you've grilled your hot dogs, burgers, or brats to perfection, no ordinary roll will do. Finish them off with a Village Hearth Pennsylvania Dutch potato roll. Village Hearth, baked fresh locally.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. A new candidate in the upcoming Fort Dodge City Council election has been announced. Justin Myers has entered the race for the council seat to represent Ward 2. Councilman Dean Hill currently represents the city's 2nd Ward, and there's been no announcement yet whether Hill will seek re-election. Myers joins Councilman Terry Minke and Kim Allstott as the only candidates to file nominating petitions thus far. Fort Dodge Mayor Matt Bemrick was a guest on Divine's Intervention with Mike Divine. The largest point of discussion during the mayor's appearance was the possible sale of the Crossroads Mall and the recent news that an offer has been made. The mayor says that the name of the possible buyer has not been disclosed as of this time.
There has been an offer made to purchase and agreed upon terms. It hasn't been disclosed. And that's at the request of the person that made the offer. And I understand why. They have now a 120-day due diligence period where they're going to go in and do inspections. They're going to have someone do a review of the leases. They'll be looking into things like the cross-parking and cross-access agreement up to the council meeting Monday. And then we had a big meeting on Tuesday. They have a neat vision, and they keep referring to like the Jordan Creek type drivable shopping area, no big Jordan Creek type mall. Right. The drivable area where you have strip malls. They're even talking about mixed use where you'd have retail and residential above. They're talking about service industries. You could have restaurants, bars, public spaces where there'd be courtyards or gathering spaces for the public to hang out on park benches or sit by a fountain.
A Fort Dodge man accused of breaking into the Tropical Smoothie location on 5th Avenue South in late June has been arrested and appeared in court yesterday. 24-year-old Tennessee Ferry is charged with third-degree burglary after police say he broke into Tropical Smoothie on June 30th after business hours. Allegedly, Ferry gained entry by removing the drive-through window and stole a cash box with just over $1,400 in it. Last month, police seized the cash box and clothing that surveillance footage showed the perpetrator was wearing. Ferry is being held in the Webster County Jail on a $5,000 bond. He's due back in court on August the 23rd. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice for Dodge 241. First of all, let's check the weather forecast, ladies and gentlemen. And again, another beautiful day here in Fort Dodge and in north central Iowa, 76 right now. It'll be sunny today with a high of 80. Overnight, mostly clear with a low of 60. Tomorrow, it'll be sunny with a high of 81. On Sunday, it'll be sunny with a high of 82. Monday, mostly sunny with a high of 88. Tuesday, sunny with a high of 87. And Wednesday, mostly sunny with a high of 80. Thursday, mostly sunny with a high of 79. I think the farmers want like 90 degrees and some rain right now every now and then, but they're not getting it. What's good for the corn is not good for human beings and vice versa. So 76 is working. For me, 76 is working for me. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. Philip Langerquist has died. There will be a celebration of the life of Philip Lee Langerquist, and that'll be at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on August 31st, and that'll be in Iowa Falls. That's for Philip Lee Langerquist. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. It's 243, 76 degrees at AM 1400. KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. With a look at the closing market report, here's Dwayne Murley.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. September corn up 10 1/4 cents at $3.71. December up 9 3/4 at $3.80 3/4. March up 9 1/4 at $3.92 3/4. May up 8 3/4 at $4 even. September soybeans up 9 1/4 at $8.67 1/4. November up 9 cents at $8.79 3/4. January up 9 1/4 at $8.93 1/2. March up 9 1/2 at $9.06 1/2. September wheat closed up 1 3/4 at $4.70 3/4. Soybean meal up $3.10 a ton at $2.94.90. August live cattle down 27 cents at $99.92. October down 47 at $98.05. August feeders down 120 at $134.57. September down 92 at $132.37. October lean hogs closed down the $3 limit at $62, and December down $2.97 at $60.77. From the Alpha Media Farm Desk, I'm Dwayne Murley.
It's sweet corn season. Hi, I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield. Think of sweet corn as human food. Most of the corn grown in the United States, known as field corn, is used to feed livestock. But sweet corn is just that, sweet and juicy and delicious. Sweet corn is a source of potassium, which helps keep blood pressure at healthy levels, magnesium, which helps build and maintain strong bones, and fiber, which helps control cholesterol and keeps you regular. Sweet corn is also a source of folate, which might reduce the risk of heart disease. Folate is recommended for women, which helps lower the risk of delivering a baby with neural tube defects. The University of Missouri Extension says to choose sweet corn that has fresh-looking green husks and well-developed kernels. What's the best way to handle sweet corn when you get it home? Refrigerate it. When you're ready to cook it, you have to shuck the corn if it's still in the husks. Pull the husk down and snap off the stem at the base. To remove the silk, run the ear in a circular direction under cold running water or use a vegetable brush. You can cook sweet corn in boiling water for 4 minutes. You can put it on the grill after brushing with oil and herbs if you like. You can cut corn off the cob and use it in recipes like corn souffle. And you can make a fresh corn salad by cooking the fresh kernels on a tray in the oven for 5 minutes at 425. Combine with fresh chopped vegetables and salad dressing. I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield.
Good morning, Uglyville! Every ugly doll is unique.
I'm Moxie.
Bobo.
Wade.
Those close to me call me Slick Dog.
Which is not his name.
And every child is, too.
They can be pretty lovable.
That's why when you travel, you should make sure your child is in the right seat for their age and size.
That sounds pretty great to me.
Keep them safe by visiting nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Isn't that right, gibberish cat?
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
We are the boy band. Your tween made you see. We are the boy band. It's Painful Concert number 3. We are the boy band. We're 5 and 19. We are the boy band. Always singing on key.
You love your kids enough to take them to see their favorite band. Love them enough to make sure they're buckled up in the back seat. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
I need results, so I choose the one system I trust to take weeds down and keep them down on even my toughest acres. With the Roundup Ready Extend crop system, I get the proven performance of Roundup Ready 2 Extend soybeans, combined with XtendiMax herbicide with Vapor Grip technology for control of more weeds than any other soybean system. Up to 14 days of soil activity on labeled weeds, and the kind of yield potential that helps keep me in the black. All to deliver my kind of results, season after season. I choose the Roundup Ready Extend crop system. I choose results. See why the Roundup Ready Extend crop system continues to be the #1 soybean system planted by farmers when you visit RoundupReadyExtend.com. XtendiMax is a restricted use pesticide. Performance may vary. Always read and follow grain marketing and all other stewardship practices and pesticide label directions. Check local regulations for specific requirements in your state.
When severe weather threatens, keep it here for the Severe Weather Advisor. Brought to you by Creative Signs and Graphics Fort Dodge. For signs, decals, vehicle graphics, magnets, logos, customized documents, and more. If your business needs it, Creative Signs and Graphics can make it. And a stitch above the rest embroidery, Fort Dodge. Step out in style with quality brands, timely turnaround, and professional service. A stitch above the rest. Embroidery professionals worth finding. Remember, when severe weather threatens, stay with your friends on KVFD.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge, 248, 76 degrees.
Keeping black vultures away from vulnerable livestock. Hello, everyone. I'm Rhiannon Branch with Managing for Profit on Brownfield. Black vultures have become a threat to livestock in the eastern Corn Belt and Delta regions. But because they are a protected species, producers must be mindful of their management practices. In this Managing for Profit, a wildlife biologist will explain the best methods for keeping vultures away from vulnerable livestock. More after this on Brownfield.
Farming's in your blood. It's in your roots. It's what you've always done. And it's what you'll always do. Give it your best and yield even better. So the last thing you need is corn rootworm inflicting its worst damage where it counts the most. Because if there's one thing you've learned season after season, it's the yield goes back to the roots. Which is why you only trust Smart Stacks technology to protect the foundation of your yield from corn rootworm, as well as a broad range of above-ground pests. Smart Stacks technology is proven on over 100 million acres. See how it compares with all your trade options at Genuity.com/protection. Smart Stacks technology. Yield goes back to your roots. Always read and follow IRM, grain marketing, and all other stewardship practices and pesticide label directions. Individual results may vary.
Scott Beckerman with USDA's Wildlife Services Program tells Brownfield there have been several recent cases of black vultures attacking newborn or injured livestock.
The birds we know are increasing in number, and as a result of that, we're recommending that when producers know their cows are getting close to calving, or if they're sheep producers or even swine producers, is your mothers are getting close to having offspring, increase the number of visits that you'd put out in those pastures to look for vultures. If you see congregations of vultures around your mothers before they birth, that's the time to take action. Don't wait until after birth and you have some conflict at that point in time, some predation. Let's be proactive. Also be vigilant. If you see concentrations of vultures roosting either at night or loafing during the day around pastures, either in dead trees or maybe a cell phone tower near your place, be vigilant to watch what those birds are doing. If it looks like that they're beginning to harass the cattle, that's when we want to begin to take action to try to disperse the birds.
He says there are several things producers can try to prevent conflicts with black vultures.
We recommend implementing an integrated program which combines a number of different actions to try to prevent and reduce problems. And that encompasses everything from making sure they're employing the most up-to-date husbandry practices, through maybe modifying the habitat to make it less conducive to concentrations of black vultures, to trying to actively disperse them from fields or pastures where they're congregating around livestock.
And Beckerman says in severe cases, producers can apply for special permits from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to remove a few vultures and support other management methods.
The birds are protected by both federal law under the Migratory Bird Treaty Act and then protected by some state laws in their individual states, so they'd want to determine if state permitting would also be needed. And if producers do have problems, they can call the USDA at 1-866-487-3297, and that call will ring into the USDA Wildlife Services state office in your state where they can provide assistance in managing conflicts with vultures.
That was Scott Beckerman with USDA's Wildlife Services, and I'm Rhiannon Branch with Managing for Profit on Brownfield.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit beefy, or even with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Affordable term life insurance is out there. Call Term Provider and speak with Big Lou at 800-481-1458. 800-481-1458 or visit biglou.com. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too.
The Green Tag sale is going on now at the General Store. Come in and get 50% off everything with the Green Tag. This is the perfect time to shop for back to school. From dress pants, leggings, and jeans to shoes, shirts, and hoodies, the General Store has something for everyone. Look for the Green Tag and save 50%. And remember, everything at the General Store is tax-free, and all proceeds go toward helping people in our community. Hurry in now and save 50% on everything with the Green Tag at the General Store. 12 North 25th. Fort Dodge.
Smart home technology makes everyday life easier. And now, we're making it easy to afford for everyone. Introducing the new Smart Home Collection, only from Budget Blinds. We make it easy and affordable because now we can motorize the beautiful shades or blinds you already own to work with a remote. And they'll be cordless too, a big safety necessity for kids and pets. Our Budget Blinds Smart Home Collection also features so many more choices. Top names including Sonos, the ultimate whole home wireless sound system. The best part? At Budget Blinds, we do it all for you. Design, install, and program it all. That's style and service for everyone, at every budget. Get your free smart home consultation. Go online to budgetblinds.com or call 855-BUDGET-BLINDS. Make everyday life just a little bit easier. Call 855-BUDGET-BLINDS now. At participating independently owned and operated franchises only. Ask for details.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth, and you may always contribute your truth at 955-1400, 955-1400. Yes, I encourage you to contribute your truth. I did a little digging. You know how suspicious I am of expert opinion. There's always some experts being quoted in the paper, especially by a liberal columnist like Rekha Basu down at the Des Moines Register, who's always quoting the Southern Poverty Law Center as some sort of expert. Well, the Southern Poverty Law Center are a bunch of phonies who did some great work years and years ago, but are now they're just now a vast money-making machine. They send out those monthly mailers and scare the hell out of liberals, and liberals write their little checks because, oh yes, white supremacists or some other terrible people are waiting outside to tell them what to do and to take their liberty and to damage our democracy. It's funny, their definition of our democracy sounds strangely like central government socialism. I mean, how else can you expect a utopian fantasy like a multicultural society, or I should say a multicultural democracy, to come to fruition? You cannot have a multicultural democracy. Human beings are not built that way. We're too competitive. And we have no core set of values anyway. We have no core set of values. There's no multicultural democracy coming your way soon. If you're going to have a multicultural society, say like China or Russia, you're going to have a strong central government. I mean, that's what Vladimir Putin has been saying for years. But people like Barack Obama blindly insist it's going to happen if we just keep trying. I think it's making us weaker. Homogeneous societies, actually, are more cohesive and more just in many ways. But that's only what one expert says. Let's talk about experts and gun control and mental illness. According to USA Today, some experts from the Michigan chapter of the National Alliance of Mental Illness found that Donald Trump's remarks regarding the mental health of mass shooters are simply wrong. Because, says the Michigan chapter of the National Alliance on Mental Illness, that study after study has shown us that is simply not true. It's actually more often the reverse, he said, And by he, I mean Kevin Fisher of the Michigan chapter for the National Alliance for Mental Illness. He said that people living with mental illness are far more likely to be victims of violence than perpetrators. Racism, hate, and white supremacy are not diagnosable mental illness, according to a man from the National Alliance on Mental Illness Michigan chapter. I'd like to point out that the National Alliance on Mental Illness Michigan chapter is an advocacy group. You simply cannot go to an advocacy group and say, tell us what the truth is, because they're going to advocate for their group, the group that pays them, the group that pays them. That was in USA Today just a few years ago. Now, not surprisingly, I found within 48 hours, another group of scholars who insist, in the Los Angeles Times no less, that yes, there is a clear link between mass shootings and mental illness. According to the Los Angeles Times, it's on my Facebook page, my Mike Devine Facebook page, and this is dated February 23rd of last year. There is a clear link between mass shootings and mental illness. There is a clear link. Even Mother Jones magazine, a very liberal magazine, found a high rate of potential mental health problems among perpetrators of mass shootings, 61%, and the magazine examined 62 cases in 2012. Both rates are considerably higher than those found in the general population. Are you listening? This is according to the Los Angeles Times, and they're quoting Mother Jones magazine, a very liberal magazine. Both rates are considerably higher than those found in the general population, more than 3 times higher than the rate of mental illness found among American adults, and about 15 times higher than the rate of serious mental illness found among American adults. Now, you can believe the Los Angeles Times and Mother Jones, or you can switch over to USA Today, and the whole idea of mental illness being a contributive factor to mass shootings is dismissed. Of course these people are mentally ill. Of course, the Michigan chapter of the National Alliance for the Mentally Ill are doing all of us a grave disservice by their nonsense, and that's exactly what it is. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and Myers next. Thanks for listening.
From tuning an engine to replacing a fuse, you can learn it all under the hood. Heard every Saturday afternoon from 2 till 4 on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
The autopsy is ready. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. A week after the death of registered sex offender Jeffrey Epstein in a federal prison, sources say the medical examiner's findings are expected to be released later today. The Washington Post has reported that Epstein had broken bones in his neck.
When you speak to certain medical examiners, they say, well, some of that could be because of a hanging. For sure, you can see those injuries, but some of that could also be seen in homicidal strangulations.
Fox's Brian Yennis. Multiple agencies are investigating Epstein's apparent suicide. He had been taken off suicide watch.
When you speak to the experts, they'll tell you being on suicide watch for more than a week or two is pretty rare. But the fact that there was no cellmate and that cellmate was taken out the night before this incident happened, of course, you're going to have questions about that.
The actions of the warden and the guards also remain under scrutiny, including reports that guards fell asleep, then falsified logs. Federal investigators are trying to figure out why the plane carrying NASCAR driver Dale Earnhardt Jr., his wife and young daughter, crashed and caught fire yesterday afternoon. Fox's Steve Harrigan is at the crash site in northeast Tennessee.
The charred wreckage of that 6-seater Cessna plane is on Highway 91. It was supposed to come in for a landing at 3:40 yesterday afternoon. It was pretty good weather out. Instead, that plane went through the runway, across a field, through a fence, and basically exploded in flames on a 5-lane road. Officials have been examining the scene since early morning. Their initial conclusion is that the plane suffered from a hard landing.
The family and the pilots are all out of the hospital as the NTSB investigation continues. The week-long roller coaster goes up again on Wall Street. The Dow up 307 points at the closing bell. This is Fox News.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. I've got great news. Mortgage interest rates have dropped. So if you're thinking about buying a home, right now is the time to lock that low rate, even before you find the home of your dreams. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
One of two American congresswomen denied entry for an official visit to Israel is rejecting an alternative plan to visit her Palestinian grandmother in the West Bank.
Representative Rashida Tlaib says she will not visit Israel after receiving that humanitarian visa by the Israeli government. Tlaib applied for humanitarian access after being denied a traditional visa just yesterday alongside Congresswoman Ilhan Omar.
Fox's Trey Yingst in Jerusalem.
Now, in order to receive approval, Tlaib had to sign a letter to Israel's Interior Ministry saying she wouldn't promote a boycott of Israel during her visit. She signed that letter, but then faced major backlash online from Palestinians who said she was giving into the demands of the Israeli government.
Tlaib accuses Israel of trying to silence her and her family and treating her like a criminal, also tweeting that visiting her grandmother in such oppressive conditions would violate everything she believes in. Congresswoman Omar has accused the Israeli prime minister of acting under pressure from President Trump. California's education chief wants a do-over of a controversial ethnic studies program.
The new ethnic studies curriculum was drafted by a committee of teachers and professors appointed by a state education board. And in it, they tell students to critique empire and its relationship to things like white supremacy, cis-heteropatriarchy, capitalism, and other forms of power and oppression. The Jewish Legislative Caucus, consisting entirely of Democrats, said the omission of anti-Semitism and harsh criticism of Israel are glaring and clearly biased. Hindu, Armenian, and Korean groups have asked why they're left out. Former Governor Jerry Brown signed a law in 2016 creating the ethnic studies curriculum. Now lawmakers are debating making it a requirement in high schools and Cal State universities. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
Recapping the rally on Wall Street, the Dow up over 300 points, the S&P and the NASDAQ also gaining more than 1%, but all three still finished the week lower. Lisa Brady. This is Fox
News. Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News update, I'm Rob Jones. A new candidate in the upcoming Fort Dodge City Council election has been announced. Justin Myers has entered the race for the council seat to represent Ward 2. Councilman Dean Hill currently represents the city's 2nd Ward, and there's been no announcement yet whether Hill will seek re-election. Myers joins Councilman Terry Minke and Kim Allstott as the only candidates to file nominating petitions thus far. Fort Dodge Mayor Matt Bemrick was a guest on Devine's Intervention with Mike Devine. The largest point of discussion during the mayor's appearance was the possible sale of the Crossroads Mall and the recent news that an offer has been made. The mayor says that the name of the possible buyer has not been disclosed as of this time.
There has been an offer made to purchase and agreed upon terms. It hasn't been disclosed. And that's at the request of the person that made the offer. And I understand why. They have now a 120-day due diligence period where they're going to go in and do inspections. They're going to have someone do a review of the leases. They'll be looking into things like the cross-parking and cross-access agreements that date back into the 60s because they don't want that to become a detriment to redevelopment. And they'll be putting together a plan on how they would build new spaces and then eventually tear down the mall.
When asked if he knew of the specific plans the prospective buyer would have with the mall site, the mayor had this to say.
I don't. I talked to them in over the last number of days and leading up to the council meeting Monday, and then we had a big meeting on Tuesday. They have a neat vision, and they keep referring to like the Jordan Creek type drivable shopping area. No big Jordan Creek type mall.
Right.
The drivable area where you have strip malls. They're even talking about mixed use where you'd have retail and residential above. They're talking about service industries. You could have restaurants, bars, public spaces where there'd be courtyards or gathering spaces for the public to hang out on park benches or sit by a fountain.
A Fort Dodge man accused of breaking into the Tropical Smoothie location on 5th Avenue South in late June has been arrested and appeared in court yesterday. 24-year-old Tennessee Ferry is charged with third-degree burglary after police say he broke into Tropical Smoothie on June 30th after business hours. Allegedly, Ferry gained entry by removing the drive-through window and stole a cash box with just over $1,400 in it. Last month, police seized the cash box and clothing that surveillance footage showed the perpetrator was wearing. Ferry is being held in the Webster County Jail on a $5,000 bond. He's due back in court on August the 23rd. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. A mix of clouds and sun this afternoon with a high of 79. Northwesterly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies and quiet tonight, lows around 59. High of 81 tomorrow. Chance for scattered storms Sunday with highs in the low 80s, sunshine mixed with clouds at times Monday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 76.
Meaningful memorialization starts when loved ones talk about what matters most.
Grandpa, this card asks, what was your favorite vacation?
Well, we didn't go on vacation when I was a kid, but our family did go fishing when we could. My dad could always find the best fishing holes, and he taught me how to clean the fish, too.
You mean you ate the fish you caught?
You bet.
Sharing stories and memories with those who matter most isn't just important today, it will be especially significant when it's time to honor a life lived. Contact Gunderson Funeral Home to learn more about having the talk of a lifetime.
Thrifty White Community Health Corner. August is National Immunization Awareness Month, and everyone can benefit from vaccinations. You could be at risk for serious diseases that are still common in the U.S. Vaccines are one of the safest ways to protect your health. Our pharmacists can vaccinate for illnesses such as shingles, measles, pneumonia, seasonal flu, and more. So visit your local Thrifty White pharmacy. Our pharmacy team can help you determine which vaccines are right for you.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right, I'm the Doctor of Truth at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm going to give you some truth here. What a beautiful day. What a beautiful day. With me now is the representative of truth. That's Ann Meyer. How are you there, Representative Meyer?
I'm doing great.
All right. You having a good summer? Because it's about over, but I had a good summer. Did you have a good summer?
It is. I've had a good summer. It's been a lot busier than I thought it was going to be, but it's just great. I just got back from a conference, a leadership conference, a legislative leadership conference up in Minnesota. It lasted 5 days, and we had intense sessions every day on not so much policy making, but just working across the aisle, how to work with people that don't always agree with you, knowing that you have to compromise on certain things. It just can't be, my side all or nothing, your side all or nothing. Iowa right now, in our house, we work together really well. I think I've told you that 95% of our stuff is passed on a bipartisan basis. But the state to the east of us, Illinois, they've done nothing. They can't get anything through because they have
they legalized marijuana.
Well, they did get that through. But I mean, so we interact with legislators from 11 Midwest states. So Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Minnesota, South Dakota, North Dakota, Nebraska, Indiana. I don't know if I said Indiana, but there's 11 states and 3 provinces, and this was something we had to apply for. I think there were 10 people in our legislature that applied for it, both representatives and senators, and I was one of the ones chosen. I was thrilled to have this opportunity. And then 2 other members of the House, Representative Joe Mitchell, he's a Republican down in Henry County in the southeast corner of the state, and then Representative Wes Breckenridge from Newton, Iowa, who is a Democrat. And I will tell you what, on the last day, they asked us to split up on one side of the room if you're Republican, one side of the room if you're Democrat.
You were the only one on the Republican side, or what?
It was fairly.
Minnesota's a pretty liberal state.
It was fairly equal, but we didn't know. I said, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that person's a Democrat." All of our interactions were just very cordial, and we all want the same thing for our states. We all want the best. We just have different ways of going about it. Iowa, we work together so much better than a couple of the other states that I talked to. One being Illinois. They're very split in their legislature. Nothing gets done.
In Illinois?
Yeah, except, of course,
the
like
weed
you
thing.
mentioned, the weed thing. Very interesting. It was very interesting to work with legislators from all over the Midwest and hear what their challenges were, and then be given the tools to address those challenges. It was a great conference. I was exhausted.
So it didn't necessarily concern. That's odd, I guess, that it didn't concern. The class didn't concern itself with policy, or maybe I'm missing something here. We shouldn't have had policy discussions because there would have been too much time spent arguing over policy, but rather
possibly.
how to move the legislative process forward. How did the class? How did the instructors put that to you? So you avoided things like partisan squabbles that are inevitably going to happen.
Yep. Well, we did have one issue or one long session about legislature versus the courts, and why are so many of our laws challenged by the courts? And of course, courts feel like they have their
engineers, Joe.
they have their issues, but the legislature also has their issues. So we were given.
They all have emotional problems of some kind, or what?
No, it's 6. We were given 6 or 8 case studies on things that have happened, and you would just say, you would read what happened, and you were asked to give your opinion on how the court should have ruled. And then they would tell us how they did rule, and really it came down to the legislature just did not write the statute clear, and you were able to.
So those sneaky judges got in there anyway, didn't they?
They were able to make judgments based on how they felt. Because
how they felt, huh?
because the statute was not written clearly.
Well, that's what the judges do. They write things about how they feel or how they see things. It's not based on the law. They wrap the law around their opinion. But I think that's becoming more and more evident.
We had a great session on.
Yeah, you want to get off that.
No. We had a great session on civil discourse, and
I remember that now.
yeah, and uncivil discourse.
And uncivil, yeah.
And 2 of the states, of course, Illinois comes to mind. Minnesota has some issues as well. All the states have some issues. Michigan has issues.
Yeah, Rashida Tlaib, there's an issue.
Everyone has issues on being uncivil. But for the most part, although we were both Republicans and Democrats in this room, we worked together and you could see each other's side.
But this is a class. This
yes,
isn't real
these
life.
are long classes. Yep. A lot of times when we go to conferences, or when I've been to nursing conferences, or I've been to medical conferences with Jim, the courses are 45 minutes, and
Little break. And
long breaks and get out early in the afternoon.
Absolutely.
That is not how they ran this. I'll tell you what.
Bad.
No, it was good. And this was not a conference that your family could really travel along because you would never see them. Like I was telling you earlier off air, our butts were in the seat at 8 a.m. and we were not back in our rooms until at least 9 o'clock.
Really?
Even the lunch breaks and dinner breaks were geared around discussion. So anyway, that was a great conference. I learned a lot. I gained a lot of tools that I can't wait to bring back to session with me next year.
Good.
So
I've heard reports that you were in the hallway outside Jeffrey Epstein's cell in the Metropolitan House of Detention. Is that true? Did you whack Jeffrey Epstein?
I have an
Meyer, did you whack him?
I have an alibi.
You did?
I do. I was in Minnesota for that whole time. In fact, my Jim called me, or not called me because we didn't, but he texted me, "Did you hear this?"
No.
And I said, "I did not," because I wasn't even able to scroll through Facebook or any of my news. I missed a lot last week. What was going on in the world?
You know, I came across a Facebook group called Michigan Politics on mlive.com. And I subscribed to it mainly after I met you and Jim. I was one of those things that popped up. And speaking of problems that Michigan has, the Democrats in Michigan are supporting expanding driver's licenses to all immigrants, legal or not. Something they're doing in other states, by the way.
Well, and
I don't expect you to explain anything.
And I can't explain why they're doing that. It does concern me because I am a big supporter of voter ID laws, and I do believe that is a right that should only be given to citizens.
Yes, of course it should be.
So
that should be a right given to citizens.
And we actually, just anecdotally, we had some. In fact, it was the Michigan representatives I was speaking to. They were talking about how you didn't have to have an ID and how it was literally possible to go from one precinct to the next and just vouch. What's that called? I can't remember. You could just attest that you are who you are. Truly. And they said they have found instances of fraud in their voting system.
That's asking for it. Mm-hmm. And so, who are you? Okay.
Well, you had to attest to it, Mike. I mean, you had to promise it was you.
I had to promise it was me?
Yes. It wasn't just...
Wow. I knew a guy in the service who was asked if he was old enough to join the service. He went into a recruiter's office, and the recruiter said, well, and the kid said he was 17. He wasn't. He was like 15 or something. And the kid said he was 17, and the recruiter said, well, you have to go home and get your parents' permission. And here's the form. You take it home and get your parents' permission. So he went around the corner, got his parents' permission, came back and joined up.
That's kind of like taking your homework home for your parents to sign.
No, he just went around the corner, had a little can of pop or something, waited a while, and came back. I got my parents' permission. Okay. We're all good. Nobody ever lies on those things, do they?
I don't know.
I'm so much more cynical than you. I shouldn't even be asking you these questions because I tell you.
Because you already know the answers.
Yeah. Well, that would be one, but I'm just too cynical. I'm actually worried about myself. Our friend Congressman Steve King is in hot water again.
I heard that as well.
What do you have a response to Congressman King? He'll be in here not next Monday, but a week from Monday, and I'm going to ask him again, what the hell are you talking about, and why are you talking about it?
I have no idea where that comment came from. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not sure. Obviously I don't support that comment. It's I can't.
How do we know such a thing?
How do we know
such a thing that how many bloodlines were established by rape or incest?
We don't.
I mean, there are terrible stories going back to the Khans, Genghis Khan, and other terrible things that happened in the early Middle Ages, where tribes would be at war, and the winners would take the women as property, in essence, and do with them as they wish. But I don't think that's something that I think we've evolved out of that in the last 600 years, haven't we?
I think so.
I have no desire to go to war with Pocahontas County, for example, or well, I think we could take them.
I think we could take them.
But why? I just why bring something like that up?
I don't know. I'm clueless.
Yeah.
On that subject. So I don't know, Mike.
Will you support Congressman King for re-election, or do you have a choice? Randy Feenstra, of course, is running. Jeremy Taylor is a very nice young man.
I like both of those guys. I particularly like Jeremy Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
I like him because he's a good family person. And there was a nice article in the paper. He did an interview, and I just watched a speech that he gave up at the Dickinson County Republican, their yearly Republican event. I mean, he has a good heart, and I feel like he's doing things for the right reason. And honestly, I don't know Senator Feenstra, so I can't give an opinion one way or the other.
Jeremy Taylor, the first time I talked to him, I realized I was talking to a Christian warrior.
Absolutely.
By that I mean I don't call me a warrior for Christ, but I'm saying that a deeply Christian man who understands that sometimes you have to defend your country and your faith violently. And that's something that previous generations of men and women understood, and somehow now we act like it's no longer necessary, or our past was wrong. I know there's still controversy over President Truman's decision to drop the atomic bomb on Japan many years ago. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of ridiculous. But I don't suppose you'll be voting for Beto O'Shelton, will you? That's my new name for Beto O'Shelton.
I was at State Fair yesterday. It was Legislative Day. I didn't get to the cast of Colonel, but the family, Jim and Jake and I, are going to go down on Sunday for a concert. And no, I won't honestly be casting my Colonel on that side of the aisle.
I didn't think you probably would. Ann Myers, by the way, Representative Ann Meyer is here. So if you have a question or comment for Ann Meyer, it's 515-955-1400, 515-955-1400. There really isn't much going on as far as a state representative like yourself this time of year.
Nope.
Unless you have something new to reveal. Are you about to reveal something, Ann?
Let's see. Well, just at the fair yesterday, again, my big issues are healthcare, mental health, and substance abuse. And yesterday at the state fair, I went over to a trailer they have set up. It's a combination. It's a coalition between Code 3, which is about people I don't want to say represent. They're trying to decrease drug overdoses, and so is the Alliance for RX. I'm drawing a blank on the name. I'll look it up and figure it out in a minute. But this was so interesting. So they have a trailer set up like a teenager's bedroom, and everything looks normal when you walk in, but there are several different clues. So when a police officer, if you found your child overdosed in their room, sadly, the police will walk in after and say, how long has your child been using drugs? And they'll say, my child isn't using drugs. I didn't know that this was going on. And they showed different clues that you can determine that you might not see. So number one, there was a bathroom. They had a medicine chest. There was a regular tube of toothpaste sitting on the sink with a toothbrush and a couple bottles of nail polish. And then you open the medicine cabinet, and a lot of people don't have medicine cabinets anymore. But anyway, on the top shelf of the medicine cabinet, there was a empty toothpaste box, or so it appeared. Well, you think, well, your toothpaste is sitting there. We throw our boxes away once we pull the toothpaste tube out. Open that box, you've got the drug paraphernalia. You've got some packages and some needles and some strange methods of preparing the drugs. There's a spoon in there in the medicine chest. A lot of times parents will notice, like, they have 8 forks, 8 knives, and they're missing a couple spoons from their set. And that's kind of a tip, because kids use that. They might keep one in the car. They might keep one in their bedroom or their bathroom. They just showed little indications, like little pieces of plastic, which I was able to recognize because I use needles all the time, not on myself, but in work. You know, we have needle caps. Everyone knows what a needle cap looks like. But then there's, at the other side, on the end, on the plunger end, there's a pretty innocuous piece of plastic that most people might not know what that is. That's that's the other end of the needle cap.
Okay.
They have little tiny Ziploc bags, which I can't imagine they use for anything else. She said, well, you might use these if you're an independent diamond dealer, but most of your kids are not. And that's what they package their tiny little drugs in. There is I feel like I don't want to give anyone ideas about how to, but probably a lot of high school kids don't listen to the program. I'm guessing. They have a calculator that's just a square calculator, but you can slide off the bottom part of it, and it's a kitchen scale, which, first of all, a kid's not going to have a kitchen scale up in their room, but second of all, there's nothing you could weigh that you use in the kitchen that is so small as a calculator would be. There's a Coke can sitting on top of the medicine chest.
Okay.
And it wasn't open, and you take it down, it feels exactly like a Coke can. These are safes that you can buy on the internet. You twist the top off, you can keep your syringes and drugs in there. Everything looks normal until you just investigate it a little bit. It was the most informative, eye-opening exhibit I've ever been through, hands-on. If anyone goes down to the State Fair, it's over by the Varied Industries building. It's outside, across from the Mustang exhibit. Get to that and just take a few minutes. Yeah, they have like a bunch of muscle cars under a tent.
Yeah, I've been down there a couple of days. Yeah,
it's right across the
from the Varied Industries building. Yeah, I saw the Ford display. I didn't know if it was going to be down there all fair or not, but I may go down again. Depends. Grandkids may want to go.
Yeah.
But by the way, I don't know why I'm picking on your old home state here today, but I went looking, and I'm kind of off. We're talking drugs here and stuff, and maybe mental illness in general. But I went looking today because I'm very suspicious of scholars as well as attorneys and lawyers and the whole thing. I went looking for causes of mass shootings. Well, Trump has been saying it's mental illness, and it would seem that most of these shooters are seriously mentally ill. I mean, you would have to be, by definition, I would think, a very disturbed person to take a rifle and start shooting people who are total strangers. But one of the first places that popped up was a USA Today article that came out in the last 12 months saying that no, mental illness isn't the primary cause of mass shootings. And the scholarly source was the Michigan chapter of the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Now, this is one chapter. Michigan just happens to be. But according to a spokesperson for the alliance in Michigan by the name of Kevin Fisher, he tells us that study after study has shown us that it is simply not true that people with mental illness commit these crimes at a higher rate. It's actually more often the reverse, that people with mental illness are far more likely to be victims of the violence. He goes on to say that racism hate and white supremacy are not diagnosable mental illnesses. And I guess he's implying that these are the reasons, Trump, in other words, Trump is the reason we're having these mass shootings. On the same page, I found that. I found a piece from the LA Times that said, yes, mental illness was the reason.
Mike, like you said, I mean, there is a degree of mental illness with all of these issues. I think there are some other factors involved. I certainly wouldn't go as far as racism. Because
well, that's no doubt the cause in at least one case. I think this nutcase that shot up that Walmart was a racist. But he was also crazier than that.
He was also mentally ill.
Yeah.
And I'm not naive enough to think that there aren't racist people out there.
Oh, I understand. Of course.
There absolutely are. But they don't go around. They just spew their speech.
Little nastiness.
But they're certainly not going to pick up a weapon and start taking out the other race unless we have a severe mental illness.
Yeah, I don't want to go down that dark alley with you necessarily. We're here to talk state stuff, really, unless you want to go down this dark alley with me, Ann. But
I hate dark alleys.
Okay, we won't go then. But there's good news for you, Ann. The medical examiner in New York has just made a decision in the case of Jeffrey Epstein. He has ruled that Epstein died by suicide. So Ann Meyer didn't do it, ladies and gentlemen.
I told you I had an alibi.
You had an alibi. Way to go.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
All right, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Yes, we'll stay out of dark alleys here, and we'll come back refreshed. Representative Ann Meyer is here, and you can certainly join the conversation by calling 515-955-1400. The news is next.
Smart home technology makes everyday life easier. And now, we're making it easy to afford for everyone. Introducing the new Smart Home Collection, only from Budget Blinds. We make it easy and affordable because now we can motorize the beautiful shades or blinds you already own to work with a remote. And they'll be cordless too, a big safety necessity for kids and pets. Our Budget Blinds Smart Home Collection also features so many more choices. Top names including Sonos, the ultimate whole home wireless sound system. The best part? At Budget Blinds, we do it all for you. Design, install, and program it all. That's style and service for everyone, at every budget. Get your free smart home consultation. Go online to budgetblinds.com or call 855-BUDGET-BLINDS. Make everyday life just a little bit easier. Call 855-BUDGET-BLINDS now. At participating independently owned and operated franchises only. Ask for details.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. A new candidate in the upcoming Fort Dodge City Council election has been announced. Justin Myers has entered the race for the council seat to represent Ward 2. Councilman Dean Hill currently represents the city's 2nd Ward, and there's been no announcement yet whether Hill will seek re-election. Myers joins Councilman Terry Minke and Kim Allstott as the only candidates to file nominating petitions thus far. Fort Dodge Mayor Matt Bemrick was a guest on Devine's Intervention with Mike Devine. The largest point of discussion during the mayor's appearance was the possible sale of the Crossroads Mall and the recent news that an offer has been made. The mayor says that the name of the possible buyer has not been disclosed as of this time.
There has been an offer made to purchase and agreed upon terms. It hasn't been disclosed. And that's at the request of the person that made the offer. And I understand why. They have now a 120-day due diligence period where they're going to go in and do inspections. They're going to have someone do a review of the leases. They'll be looking into things like the cross-parking and cross-access agreements that date back into the 60s because they don't want that to become a detriment to redevelopment. And they'll be putting together a plan on how they would build new spaces and then eventually tear down the mall.
When asked if he knew of the specific plans the prospective buyer would have with the mall site, the mayor had this to say.
I don't. I talked to them in over the last number of days and leading up to the council meeting Monday, and then we had a big meeting on Tuesday. They have a neat vision, and they keep referring to like the Jordan Creek type drivable shopping area, no big Jordan Creek type mall.
Right.
The drivable area where you have strip malls. They're even talking about mixed use where you'd have retail and residential above. They're talking about service industries. You could have restaurants, bars, public spaces where there'd be courtyards or gathering spaces for the public to hang out on park benches or sit by a fountain.
A Fort Dodge man accused of breaking into the Tropical Smoothie location on 5th Avenue South in late June has been arrested and appeared in court yesterday. 24-year-old Tennessee Ferry is charged with third-degree burglary after police say he broke into Tropical Smoothie on June 30th after business hours. Allegedly, Ferry gained entry by removing the drive-through window and stole a cash box with just over $1,400 in it. Last month, police seized the cash box and clothing that surveillance footage showed the perpetrator was wearing. Ferry is being held in the Webster County Jail on a $5,000 bond. He's due back in court on August the 23rd. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. A mix of clouds and sun this afternoon with a high of 79. Northwesterly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies and quiet. Tonight, lows around 59. High of 81 tomorrow. Chance for scattered storms Sunday with highs in the low 80s. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times Monday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 77.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. September corn up 10 1/4 cents at $3.71. December up 9 3/4 at $3.80 3/4. March up 9 1/4 at $3.92 3/4. May up 8 3/4 at $4 even. September soybeans up 9 1/4 at $8.67 1/4. November up 9 cents at $8.79 3/4. January up 9 1/4 at $8.93 1/2. March up 9 1/2 at $9.06 1/2. September wheat closed up 1 3/4 at $4.70 3/4. Soybean meal up $3.10 a ton at $2.94.90. August live cattle down 27 cents at $99.92. October down 47 at $98.05. August feeders down 120 at $134.57. September down 92 at $132.37. October lean hogs closed down the $3 limit at $62, and December down $2.97 at $60.77. From the Alpha Media Farm Desk, I'm Dwayne Murley.
Every month after paying my bills, I used to wonder if I'd have enough money left to buy groceries. Sometimes I did. A lot of times I didn't. Then I learned about 211. It's the number seniors can call for help finding food. With their help, I found a food pantry near me. Now I don't have to wonder if I'll be able to afford groceries because there's plenty of food for everyone. Call 211 for help finding healthy food near you.
Funded by USDA's Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP.
Adventure Bay Water Park is now open at Adventureland. Ride the waves and soak up the sun in the oceans of aquatic fun. Fun for the whole family, and it's all included with your admission to Adventureland Park. 2 great parks, all for one low price. See our website for park and water park operation dates.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit beefy, or even with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Affordable term life insurance is out there. Call Term Provider and speak with Big Lou at 800-481-1458. 800-481-1458 or visit biglou.com. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too.
It won't be long before the kids will be back in school. Got your to-do list ready? School supplies? Check. School clothes? Check. School sport physical? Not check. Uh-oh. Better call Active Health Chiropractic today. At Active Health Chiropractic, they offer sport physicals for kids in grade school through high school. As part of their school sport physical, they'll also do a pre-concussion screening. Call today and schedule an appointment for your star athlete. Active Health Chiropractic, Fort Dodge.
If you don't listen to him, you suck.
He's sneaky, but he's right.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Okay, Representative Ann Meyer is off the hook. Jeffrey Epstein's death has been ruled a suicide, so there we go. She's off the hook, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. I was starting an investigation into Representative Mike Sexton to see if he was in New York around that time, but no, I guess not. Okay, have you seen the Scrapture all year? I've hardly seen that guy.
When's the last time I saw Mike?
Yeah, he's kind of busy for us poor folk over here in Webster County.
He was
kind of busy.
Yeah, I think 4th of July, which actually ended up being the 5th of July parade, is the last time I saw him.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. It's the last time I saw him, too. Yes, that's right. So, anyway, so you spent a little time down at the State Fair.
Yeah, and I'd love to spend more time. I went through the 4-H barn, and that is always fascinating to me. The projects these kids put together, it is. It's fascinating to me. I did meet the Fair Queen, Hannah. She's from Eddyville. Such a sweet girl. Let's see.
I spent Wednesday afternoon in the pork producers tent. Boy, did I have a good time. I always have a good time with the pork producers.
We're going to hit them on Sunday.
Are you going to go out there Sunday?
Yeah. So Jim and Jake and I are going down
okay.
For a concert. Hootie and the Blowfish, Bare Naked Ladies.
Hootie and the Blowfish and Bare Naked Ladies.
Yeah,
I suppose
I love concerts.
That'd be about your era, wouldn't it? Those guys?
that was really their heyday was in the right about when Jake was born. But he's cool. He likes those. He likes those bands too.
Sure.
So it'll be fun. And I want them. So I kind of scoped out the state fair, so I'll take them to the places that are I think are not to be missed for them.
Well, it's an Iowa thing. I mean, if you don't like rural life, the Iowa State Fair has no meaning to you and no interest. But if you do like rural life and you grew up in it, the Iowa State Fair is a place to be. Some would say, yes, it's like a county fair, only on a massive scale. I suppose that's true. I don't have any problem with that.
No.
You know, let's take in the music concerts. Let's hear the politicians bark. I still like Joe Biden. We believe in truth over facts. I was in the back when he said that. I couldn't get close to him to ask him, what the hell are you talking about, Senator Biden? Truth over facts? What are you talking about?
So did you cast your kernel for any
I cast my kernel, yeah. And I'll tell you, Donald Trump is beating all of them. Yeah. Donald Trump, the last time I looked, and I always try to find Dave Price of WHO Television.
Yep.
Because Dave,
I love Dave.
Yeah, Dave has been on the show a few times. I've been on his show, actually, on television once. And I haven't found him this year. But I do know that Trump, by watching WHO News at night, is way up in front over all the Democratic candidates. As a matter of fact, if you take all of the Democratic candidates' votes and put them together, they're still not anywhere close to Trump.
Mm-hmm.
So the Democrats hate Trump thing, that campaign doesn't seem to be working very much. Doesn't really.
I don't think that's working.
Well, a good economy will always trump hatred.
Well, and now we've got this and don't get me wrong, I'm not an expert on these national level things, but so there's someone brought up indicators that a recession might be coming.
Sure, probably is.
But then there are experts that say maybe, but it doesn't seem to be that bad. So, but the I don't know what you call them, the far left press.
Yeah.
They're touting it like it's the end of the world. And they're probably, so grateful that they can say this because there's no way anyone can run against this economy at this point.
No, that's right. Well, newspapers have their audience, and they appeal to their audience. They will say things to stir up their audience because that's the name of the game now. I just come on here and start talking about things that bother me, and I assume there's things that bother other people as well who are my age and clear down into the 30s, because I have a much greater reach as far as demographics than most people think. I've had people in their 20s and 30s, oh yeah, we know you, you're cool, and all this stuff. We listen to your show and all this sort of thing. So it's just not a bunch of old grumpy white guys.
Oh, I know. I've been approached many times on the out in the community that, hey, I heard you on the radio, and it's all spectrum. So
yeah,
sorry, off session. I really don't have that much important input right now, but it's
That's
fun.
I appreciate that you came in. I am appreciative of that, and I probably should have thought of a few other things for us to talk about, but I'm just having a fine time talking to you, so that's the end of that. What is Jim doing today anyway? Let's really have a nonsensical conversation here. What's your husband doing today?
Jim worked all day, and I literally passed him out coming out of the neighborhood as he was going in. I know he's going to get on the lawnmower when he gets home.
He's going to get on the lawnmower?
Yeah. Jake's been working a lot, so I know he didn't mow the lawn this week. And I saw it when I got home that we're looking a little shabby. So by the time I get home, the lawn will be taken care of. And
Excellent. Excellent. Is Jake done with Iowa State now or what?
Yeah, Jake graduated a year ago in May, and
Okay.
Jacob is working at the hospital here in town at Unity Point.
Right.
He's working in the emergency room.
Sure.
And he's a medical scribe. So when the doctor examines the patient, Jacob does all the charting. It really frees up the doctor to see more patients and do more, face-to-face stuff where he's, doctor's not turned away looking at a computer. That's Jake's job. And Jake's getting a lot of experience with different types of patients. And I think we always, Jake's wants to go into medicine, and he's applied. He's not in yet. We're hoping by the fall of 2020 he can get in, but this is such a great experience for him. I'm really happy for him that he's in this position. He's really liking it, because this could be a time where he can say, patient care, not for me. This is not what I want to deal with, especially in the emergency room. I mean,
Sure.
think of everything that comes through. But no, he loves it. He whenever something comes through, he's not up on, he'll come home and study and ask us about it and try to correlate the symptoms to the disease process. And I'm so proud of it. Obviously, I'm a proud mom, but I really am. I'm really proud of him. I'm proud of what he's doing, and I can't wait till he gets into med school. I will tell you, Jim and I say that, as much as we would have loved for him to get in right out of college,
Right.
It's probably a blessing that he didn't. He's had this time to, a little bit more time to mature and also to see what medicine is about. Because I learned it, I was a nurse aide in high school and all through college. I knew what I was getting into. Jim really didn't know what he was getting into. He didn't work in, his dad was a dentist, his grandpa was a physician, but he...
As I recall, the dentist used to tell the prospective doctors, become a dentist at 9 to 5. You become a physician and you can be on call anytime.
What is so funny about that is Jim thought about going into dentistry, but his dad said, why go into medicine? Why focus on one small part of the body when you can work on everything? So that's kind of the opposite of what he told him. And Jim has spent years and years on call.
I was going to say.
That's rough.
Yeah, I was going to say he knows it better than any of us. But, the whole idea of not being on call is very attractive. I don't know, but maybe physicians make more than dentists. I don't know.
You know what? I will tell you there's a new for me phenomenon that, from when I first started in the hospitals. So family practice medicine and internal medicine and specialists will still go into the hospital. Like Jim will still go into the hospital sometimes. But now it's shift work, actually. So they have hospital medicine and intensivist, and they're on a 12-hour shift. And when they're done, they don't get called. So if you're on, though, you're on.
Yeah.
You're on that time. But that's kind of a nicer lifestyle than it used to be for hospital practicing in the hospital, because when Jim worked here for many years, he would see his office patients. He'd run over to the hospital. He'd make an hour or two in the afternoon. He'd clear his schedule to see his inpatients and then come back and then maybe get home at 6 o'clock and still be called in whenever there was a pulmonary emergency, like someone had an accident, they needed a chest tube, needed a thoracentesis emergently. So that is kind of changing a little bit. Not a little bit. I think that's a huge change, actually.
It's a huge. How so? What do you mean?
It's a huge change because there's no call.
Oh, no call. Yeah, that
for those people.
AM 1400 KVFD. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Yeah, Mike, I have a question for Ann. Hey, Ann.
Yeah.
One of the concerns I have when it comes to the general election is that the Democrats have a good way of localizing things. And what they say sounds really good, though seem to run away from all these national things that are so abhorrent, I think, about their stances. But when it comes to local elections, they make themselves sound pretty reasonable. They don't they don't mention Pelosi. They won't mention the Fab Four.
The Fab Four.
And and so I just have a concern how we overcome that. As far as I'm concerned, the most in the old days, you used to talk about voting for the person and not the party. But now, as far as I'm concerned, the most important thing about a person is whether they have a D or an R next to their name. Because if you align with that party, it's against so many things that I believe in that there's no way I could vote that way. So, but how do you bring in a mixture of the local important things plus the national stance by the opposition?
Well, again, here I am just finishing my first session, and I'm already going to be up for re-election next year. All I can do is stand on my record, and I feel like at this point I didn't really introduce anything except one small bill this year, but my voting record, I think, is very good as far as my conscience and also my constituents. So there's one thing I learned. There are the 3 C's that you have to do to be a legislator. First of all, you have to vote your conscience. You can't vote against something that you really just in your heart don't believe in. And then you have to vote for your constituents. You are there not for you, really. You're there to represent your constituents. And then the last C is the caucus. And that's the last thing I worry about, voting with your party. I understand what you're saying. How can we bring this in on a local level, bring those national issues in? But there are, for instance, healthcare. We have people in our house that are of the opposite party that are bringing in those same socialistic medicine ideas, and I feel like the work that we're doing now with the Medicaid system and how we're trying to fix all the flaws in it with the privatization, I feel like we're really making a dent in it. So that's like healthcare. That's one way we can bring that national issue down to a state issue. So we definitely can tie that together.
Sure.
Same thing with Second Amendment rights. We can definitely see what's going on in the country, what the temperature is on the outside, which is pretty hot, but on the state level, we want to do what the citizens want of Iowa. So the constitutional amendment was introduced this session. Well, it was actually introduced several sessions ago, but because of some lacking on the Secretary of State's office, we lost the ability to have the constitutional amendment, Second Amendment rights on the Iowa Constitution. So we're working on that. That passed this year. I think I can defend common sense, what our party is doing on that level. So those are two national issues that we're definitely dealing with on the state level as well.
Sure. My concern is that the Republicans regain control of the House, because having the other guys running all the committees is just a disaster, and that's
on the national level you're talking about.
Oh yes.
We have a really great candidate in the I want to say House District 1, but I'm not. She's a state representative right now, Ashley Hinson. I really feel like she can take over Abby Finkenauer's spot. She is, and I'm not just saying this because I know her. I mean, she truly is brilliant. She's got a great grasp of the issues, and she's very no nonsense. And then David Young, I really feel he has a good chance of taking back his seat that he lost last time.
Do you think so?
I do.
I've talked with David Young a couple times. Really nice guy.
Yeah.
But the Democrats went all out, and of course, Cindy Axne won Polk County and Dallas County. Out of the 17 counties, she won those two. Of course, that's where all the people are. And Polk County, I'll tell you, is a Democratic county.
I agree with that. It is a Democratic county, but he did have that before, and I'm hoping that because it's a presidential election, and Trump really did take a lot of the state, so and I feel like that's going to happen again, and I think those voters will come out and, like you're saying, at least in Iowa, take back some of those congressional seats.
Yeah, I sure hope so. Well, hey, thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. Yeah, the Democrats have presented themselves as just awful people. They're just awful, some of the things they say and do, and some of the demands and the screaming, and my God. Cindy Axne and Tlaib and Omar, all part of the same party, after all. How does Cindy Axne respond to those people?
She, as far as I know, she doesn't. I'm serious.
She probably doesn't want to talk about it at all, does she?
Yeah.
Other than to say, well, I'm not them. Well, come on. You're flying with the same flock of geese there, lady. Ann Meyer's been our guest. Thank you so much for coming in, Ann.
Thank you.
All right. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. Randy Kuhlman and I will talk sports in the next hour. What a beautiful day it is. This is KVFD for Dodge, Iowa.
For exciting Panther sports, keep it right here on your home for University of Northern Iowa sports in North Central Iowa. The voice of Fort Dodge, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
The official ruling just in on the death of Jeffrey Epstein. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. Autopsy results released for the registered sex offender who was facing new charges of sex crimes with underage girls when he was found dead in a federal prison cell in New York City last week.
They have ruled, the medical examiner, this was a suicide, saying that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself at 6:30 in the morning. That would be last Saturday morning, and that it was suicide, that he tied a bed sheet to the bunk in his cell and that he knelt toward the floor. The big controversy in all of this for the past couple of days has been if, in fact, or how, in fact, he broke his hyoid bone, which is near the Adam's apple in men. He also, according to the Washington Post, broke several other bones.
Fox's Trace Gallagher. Epstein's death remains under investigation by multiple federal agencies. At least 16 states are now suing over the Trump administration's expanded restrictions on immigrants seeking green cards if public assistance programs are used, including food stamps and Medicaid.
We know that we cannot afford to sit back while this administration targets programs that children and families across our state rely on.
California Attorney General Javier Becerra announcing the latest multi-state challenge today. 2 weeks after the mass shootings that killed 31 people in Texas and Ohio, calls for action continue. The House Judiciary Committee cutting its August break short by several days to work on gun legislation.
House Democrats wanted the Senate to work on gun control legislation during the August recess, but Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said it would have to wait until September, vowing the issue would be front and center when lawmakers return.
Fox's Rachel Sutherland in Washington. Meantime, a spokesman says Senator McConnell had successful surgery yesterday to repair the shoulder he fractured during a fall at his Kentucky home earlier this month. This is Fox News.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. I've got great news. Mortgage interest rates have dropped. So if you're thinking about buying a home, right now is the time to lock that low rate, even before you find the home of your dreams. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Michigan Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib rejecting the option of visiting Israel on a humanitarian visa to see her grandmother, saying the restrictions placed on the visit are too oppressive. She had agreed not to promote a pro-Palestinian boycott, which is what Israel had cited in denying entry to 2 congresswomen yesterday. More pro-democracy protests expected in Hong Kong.
Heading into this weekend, we had a rally tonight here in Hong Kong, thousands showing up in the central heart, the financial heart of Hong Kong, and they're really setting the stage and promoting the rally for this weekend.
Fox Business Network's Susan Lee, the protesters undaunted by reports of a Chinese military buildup near the city's border. A chilling find in a New York City subway.
Nerves were certainly rattled early this morning when that news of 2 suspicious packages at this very busy subway station went out, and we heard that they could be pressure cookers, that adding to the tense situation. There were evacuations both underground and then above ground nearby buildings. Now, the bomb squad was called in and determined the items were empty rice cookers, not explosives, deemed them not a threat.
Fox's Laura Ingle, pressure cookers were used in the deadly Boston Marathon bombing in 2013. Actor Ewan McGregor might return to the Star Wars universe.
I have a bad feeling about this.
I don't sense anything.
McGregor is in talks to return as Obi-Wan Kenobi in a standalone series for Disney Plus, their new streaming service. McGregor took over for the original Obi-Wan actor Alec Guinness for all the prequels. This would be the 3rd series coming to Disney Plus so far. Disney has already greenlit the Jon Favreau-helmed The Mandalorian. The series is expected to premiere in November, and a Cassian Andor series, which brings Diego Luna back to reprise his Rogue One role.
Fox's Michelle Polino. Wall Street ends a rough week with a rally. The Dow up 307. Lisa Brady. This is Fox
News. Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News update, I'm Rob Jones. A new candidate in the upcoming Fort Dodge City Council election has been announced. Justin Myers has entered the race for the council seat to represent Ward 2. Councilman Dean Hill currently represents the city's 2nd Ward, and there's been no announcement yet whether Hill will seek re-election. Myers joins Councilman Terry Minke and Kim Allstott as the only candidates to file nominating petitions thus far. Fort Dodge Mayor Matt Bemrick was a guest on Devine's Intervention with Mike Devine. The largest point of discussion during the mayor's appearance was the possible sale of the Crossroads Mall and the recent news that an offer has been made. The mayor says that the name of the possible buyer has not been disclosed as of this time.
There has been an offer made to purchase and agreed upon terms. It hasn't been disclosed. And that's at the request of the person that made the offer. And I understand why. They have now a 120-day due diligence period where they're going to go in and do inspections. They're going to have someone do a review of the leases. They'll be looking into things like the cross-parking and cross-access agreements that date back into the 60s because they don't want that to become a detriment to redevelopment. And they'll be putting together a plan on how they would build new spaces and then eventually tear down the mall.
When asked if he knew of the specific plans the prospective buyer would have with the mall site, the mayor had this to say.
I don't. I talked to them in over the last number of days and leading up to the council meeting Monday, and then we had a big meeting on Tuesday. They have a neat vision, and they keep referring to like the Jordan Creek type drivable shopping area, no big Jordan Creek type mall. Right. The drivable area where you have strip malls. They're even talking about mixed use where you'd have retail and residential above. They're talking about service industries. You could have restaurants, bars, public spaces where there'd be courtyards or gathering spaces for the public to hang out on park benches or sit by a fountain.
A Fort Dodge man accused of breaking into the Tropical Smoothie location on 5th Avenue South in late June has been arrested and appeared in court yesterday. 24-year-old Tennessee Ferry is charged with third-degree burglary after police say he broke into Tropical Smoothie on June 30th after business hours. Allegedly, Ferry gained entry by removing the drive-through window and stole a cash box with just over $1,400 in it. Last month, police seized the cash box and clothing that surveillance footage showed the perpetrator was wearing. Ferry is being held in the Webster County Jail on a $5,000 bond. He's due back in court on August the 23rd. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. A mix of clouds and sun this afternoon with a high of 79. Northwesterly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies and quiet. Tonight, lows around 59. High of 81 tomorrow. Chance for scattered storms Sunday with highs in the low 80s. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times Monday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 77.
Every month after paying my bills, I used to wonder if I'd have enough money left to buy groceries. Sometimes I did. A lot of times I didn't. Then I learned about 211. It's the number seniors can call for help finding food. With their help, I found a food pantry near me. Now I don't have to wonder if I'll be able to afford groceries because there's plenty of food for everyone. Call 211 for help finding healthy food near you.
Funded by USDA's Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP.
Every month after paying my bills, I used to wonder if I'd have enough money left to buy groceries. Sometimes I did. A lot of times I didn't. Then I learned about 211. It's the number seniors can call for help finding food. With their help, I found a food pantry near me. Now I don't have to wonder if I'll be able to afford groceries because there's plenty of food for everyone. Call 211 for help finding healthy food near you.
Funded by USDA's Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. I'm Michael Devine, and of course, as always, we're going to tell the truth, make it matter, and we're never going to be boring. Friday we do a sports show, and we are lacking a sports guy today in Nevin Mulholland, but you know, Randy Koolman and I did it pretty well last week, so. Is Nevin absolutely necessary? Or?
No, absolutely not.
Or is he overrated like he calls Dave Flattery a lot?
That question's been asked a lot over the years.
Do we really need him? No. Nevin's great when he's here. He really is. But he always calls Dave Flattery overrated. He's totally overrated, Dave Flattery. Speaking of Dave Flattery, he was in the Messenger this morning. Looking at his pig.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And God bless Dave and his commitment to his old hometown. You know, he really wants to see Fort Dodge thrive, and he wants us to be in touch with our heritage and all those sorts of things, and that's all important. But I don't know about a 12 by 15 foot pig out on the roundabout there, but we're going to commemorate Floyd of Rosedale, and Dave. I think Dave kind of led the charge on that. And again, I commend him.
He's been pushing that for 4 or 5 years, and he's finally, it's I didn't realize it was going to be that big. What is it? They say 12 foot high and 15 feet long? My
yes,
gosh.
12 by 15. Yeah, 12 by 15.
And,
That's going to be, and it's a pig, really.
Yeah.
You know, it is a replica of the Floyd of Rosedale Trophy, which I saw down at the State Fair a little earlier this week over at the Hawkeye booth. You know, the Hawks beat Minnesota again last year, and so they had the Floyd of Rosedale Trophy in Des Moines at the State Fair, but it's a trophy of a pig, you know, and it's symbolic of something much larger.
Right, absolutely. And I give Dave a lot of credit.
I do.
I mean, it's anytime there's an opportunity to celebrate your community, celebrate the history of your community, and even though it's kind of an interesting, unique thing that it's about a trophy really over a football game, but yet it does have Fort Dodge roots here, and it is. I've seen on ESPN where they've said it's the #1 traveling trophy in the country because of, I mean, anybody that follows sports across college football across the country probably knows about Floyd of Rosedale.
Absolutely.
At least the trophy. And the story behind it is interesting because there's a racial element to it back in the 20s or 30s, whenever that was.
Mid-1930s, yeah.
Yeah. And so I think it's really a good thing to celebrate our community in that way, and you know, and the question is it the right location? But I think I think they're committed to that roundabout. And Dave mentioned it today about they didn't want to put it in a park because they didn't think it would have the visibility that they wanted. So we'll see. They've got to still raise some money. I think they're trying to raise $125,000.
Right.
And
they'll get it done.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they'll get it done. And so it should be a fun thing, and hopefully everybody can rally behind it and support it.
I will in time. I don't want to be one of those people like some grumpy old guys down at the local coffee groups that I'm a part of every now and then. And we sit around and complain about everything that happens in the city and the expanse, or in this case, the aesthetics of a pig out on the roundabout. I don't want to do that. I know there's a lot of grumping about the abstract sculpture of those kids crossing or going to school down by Fair Oaks School. I after all these years, I'm still trying to say South Junior High.
Yeah.
But I liked it. I liked that, and I liked certainly the 12th Street roundabout there by Fairway where they put that little clock there. That's terrific. And I always liked that river logo down the courthouse. It brightened up an otherwise block white building.
The Grain Mural project was
a
great
wonderful
project.
thing.
It was a great project. And the thing about public art is it's like wallpaper. You know, people look at it, and some people love it, some don't. This is more than just a public art piece because it does have a story behind it, and it is a celebration. And I can tell you, I don't know what the timing is right now of being able to get that statue up there, but I can guarantee at some point in time, whenever that's up, it will be covered by the station that's covering the Iowa-Minnesota football game.
Oh, yeah.
They'll be here to take a picture of that.
Yes, they
will.
That
statue. So I just think it's a good thing. It's a fun thing, and hopefully everybody will pitch in a little bit, and we can raise some money and get the project done.
Well, I think the decision has been made. I know I talked with Janice Valentine last week, and I didn't know Janice was on the board. The board that was trying to push this through, and she really likes it.
Good.
And I trust Janice's judgment and those sort of things. And other people I've talked to seem to like it. I always thought if you're going to put a pig out in that part of town, that's kind of I don't know, when you're leaving and coming into town, it's like that's something that Prestige Farms put there or something, because that's on the way out of town to Prestige Farms. But
I think they're going to have appropriate signage, though, so people come in will know it's Floyd of Rosedale.
Well, and you made a good point there that I hadn't really considered, that when the game starts and when Iowa's facing Minnesota in the Big Ten channel or on one of the television networks or whatever, there'll be a camera crew there with a picture of Floyd Roseville in Fort Dodge, Iowa. So that's a great way to draw attention to our town. So I do want to thank Dave Flattery. I've always admired what Dave has done for our community over the many years he's been on the city council, and I know he feels real passionate about his hometown and everybody who served on the committee as well.
And I think he's lost some of his old Cyclone friends, a few of them.
Why has he lost Cyclone friends?
Well,
because the big thing?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know.
No, I'm just kidding.
He's still Cyclone through and through.
Oh, absolutely. Sure. He is. But it's no one's more enthusiastic about this project than him. And he put one of his sons through Iowa, so he's not just all Iowa State.
Oh, did one of his boys go to Iowa?
Oh, yeah, Neil.
Neil went to Iowa.
Neil's an Iowa graduate, went down there to run track, and then he graduated from Iowa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's an accountant now in Cedar Rapids.
Is that where he is?
Yeah.
I know Dave had a lot of talented kids. What do you have, 4 or 5 kids?
Yeah, I think he had a dozen, didn't he? It seemed like it. No,
if we were old school Catholic, we'd have had a dozen kids over there in the Flattery family. But no, I don't think
Dave's has a great family. I think he's got 4. Let's see, he's got Andy, Tim, Joey, and who am I missing? Is that it?
No, I think there's one more too. But
then Megan, his daughter, is an outstanding young lady that. Was a great athlete at St. Edmunds, and
yeah, she graduated just in the last couple of years, didn't she?
Right, and Megan works for the Iowa State football program. She works in the office there, supporting the staff as a kind of student intern. So,
okay,
yeah.
Well, she'll do real well.
Oh, absolutely. They all will. They're all successful.
I used to watch Joe pitch in high school, and he was a pretty good pitcher.
Oh, yeah. He went to pitch for Kansas State.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
And,
I think he had a tryout with the pros or was trying to get into pro ball for a while, I think, but I don't know.
Yeah, but, a great family. And then, of course, they have an interesting little tie there with the Field of Dreams, and the Flattery, that whole Flattery family went there to play.
That's right, they did
play baseball. Yeah, and then Major League Baseball, I think, is doing a great thing by having that game there next.
Yeah,
the White Sox and the Yankees game.
Yanks. 8,000 tickets going to be sold. Boy, I'd like to have one of those.
And I know they had some people say, well, why are they building a whole new stadium for one game? Why don't they just play it there at the Field of Dreams? And my guess, I don't know the answer to that, but my guess is the owner of that probably didn't want that many people trudging on their farm or whatever, so they're building it next to it.
Yeah.
And so it's still going to highlight the game of baseball in that great movie, and again, the state of Iowa. And
it will.
And it's an iconic film.
I think the folks over there, and some folks in Dyersville, not all of them, they're making a little bit too much out of a great film from the 1980s. I read the book by Ray Kinsella, and as a matter of fact, he died just a couple of years ago. He was kind of an eccentric character, but I loved the book long before the movie came out. The book I thought was even in some ways better than the movie.
Yeah.
But the movie was great with Kevin Costner, but it's a movie, It's it is a movie, but it does for everybody who ever loved baseball, and that's most of the boys our age, If you ever loved baseball in your life, that was the best movie ever.
It was a it was a great movie, and it's just interesting how certain movies can go from being a good movie to a kind of an iconic movie.
Cultural icon, yeah. And that one did.
It did.
There was another great Kevin Costner movie from that very same time period, Bull Durham, that was about something else, really. Baseball was kind of in the backdrop. Bull Durham was kind of like a love story of some kind. But anyway, it's the struggles of life and all those great things that are in movies. Randy Coleman's our guest. We're talking sports at AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. My Cubs blew it again. I was hoping that Nevin would be here this morning because Nevin's a Cub fan as well. But, I watched most of the game. Yu Darvish, who I've always been a critic of Yu Darvish. I was opposed to the Yu Darvish trade or getting Yu Darvish for that huge price tag in the first place. But he goes out and pitches 7 great innings. Then they blow it in the 9th inning. They cannot get a relief pitcher to save their lives. I mean, they're paying that whole bullpen, I don't know how much, and they're not worth any of it. I mean, they had 3 relief pitchers in the 9th inning and couldn't hold them.
Yeah. Well, and of course Harper
Jack's one.
Jack's the grand slam, but yeah, it's that was disappointing when they were what were they up 5-0 going into the 8th.
Yeah,
and ended up losing. The Phillies scored 6 on them in the bottom of the 9th to beat them, but I think you look at that race, you got the Cubs and the Cards are tied, and the Brewers are 1 game back. So it's going to come down to the end, which will make for a very interesting fall. And whoever gets hot there in that last 10-game stretch is probably going to win it.
That's right.
And that's the way it seems like with baseball. Teams get hot, and then they get cold for a while, and then they get hot again. And
boy, the Cubs are on a slide. They had a solid 2-game lead over the Cardinals, and they were looking pretty strong there for a while, but now I see they're in a flat tie again.
Yeah.
With, guess who? The Cardinals again. I don't think I can stand it if the Cardinals take the National League Central Division after Chicago leading it all year, or most of the year. But,
yeah.
Boy, the rest of the races are over with, I'll tell you. New York.
Well, except for the Twins. The Twins are in
the Twins in Cleveland.
That'll be an interesting one as well. And, again, a lot of Twin fans in Fort Dodge as well. So that'll make things fun, too, to see how that turns out.
I think our friend Dave Flattery that we were just talking about, he's a big Twins guy.
Yeah.
I don't know about his brother Dan, but I know Dave is.
Yeah, they and they're hitting home runs like crazy up there in Minnesota. But boy, Cleveland's hot, and they look awful tough. And let's face it, they were down. The Twins had 8 or 9 game
huge
lead on them early, and Cleveland has come back strong, and they're going to make a heck of a race out of it coming down the stretch.
The Dodgers are way out in front of the West Division, 19 games over Arizona, who is in second place. But I still don't see them as World Series people. It's amazing to me. Baseball season goes by so fast to me, and football season does as well. I'll tell you, frankly, basketball season has a little bit of a tendency to drag for me, I guess because it's in the winter months. Man, the last couple of winters we have been brutal. I don't know where this global warming is coming from, but I'm ready for a little of it, after last February and March.
No, I mean, all the seasons are long. I mean, they keep getting longer, but...
Well, they were longer when I was younger, Randy, but...
it's... I don't know. I would disagree with you. I think, the Dodgers, they've got 81 wins right now.
Oh, they're huge.
And I look at the rest of the league, and, I don't know who's going to be good enough to beat the Dodgers over a course of a 7-game series. But you never know. Like you say, baseball is one of those games you get hot, and if you get hot at the right time, anything can happen.
Boy, that's the truth. I don't know a thing about the Atlanta Braves, and they're leading the National League Central. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird that Atlanta's and Washington are in the National League Central Division. No, they're in the East.
Yeah, they're in the East.
I'm sorry, I beg your pardon.
Yeah, they... and even Washington, I mean, you look at Washington, you don't hear anything about them, but they've got one more win than the Cubs do. I mean, so... I mean, really, the Cubs, St. Louis, there's a lot of parity there, and they're all just slightly over 500, actually.
Yeah. You've never been. I've always said that the National League Central Division is the toughest. You've always called me out on that. Because the teams in the National League Central are not the best. I really don't. I really would disagree with that. The Cardinals, despite their record, are a real solid baseball team. I hate to say that around Cardinal fans. They got beat last night, by the way, by the Reds. So that was. It saved the Cubs a little bit from falling into second place, but I still think that Central Division in the National League is a pretty good division.
It's a good division, yeah, and there's no question about that. I think probably the weakest division right now is the West Division, and
Arizona, San Francisco, San Diego following Los Angeles Dodgers. Colorado, what happened to them? They're 26 games out. And Detroit Tigers up in the American League. Jeez, they're terrible. 35 games back in the Central Division. Wow.
Yeah, that's... I can't imagine what they're drawing for attendance.
Well, the city of Detroit is so beat up anyway, The city of Detroit in 1970 had 2.2 million. I actually looked this up once for a discussion. There was and I can't remember. He was an economist with Ohio State University, And he used to volunteer to come on the program every now and then, and he was
Urban Meyer. Is that what you're talking about?
No, he isn't. This guy was an economist. An economist. I'll have to look him up. But he texted me one day and he said, "I want to talk about the economic impact of LeBron James coming to the Cleveland Cavaliers." It's been back a few years,
right?
You know? And he gave an economic projection that just having LeBron in Cleveland was going to be worth millions of dollars.
Yep.
You know.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And he was a big basketball and baseball fan. And he just asked me rhetorically one time, "Do you think Detroit is ever coming back?" Because the Pistons had their great days, and in the '60s, I remember the Detroit Tigers had some great players. I mean, Denny McClain, the last 30-game winner, Jim Bunning, who went on to be a U.S. senator. They were great pitchers. But anyway, he asked me if the city of Detroit was ever, the Tigers were ever going to be tough again, or the Pistons were ever going to be tough again. And I looked up the statistics for Detroit, and in 1970, they had 2.2 million people. Now they have 750,000.
Really?
That's a huge drop. That's more than half. And I don't know, but I would guess that the population of Detroit is much older, kind of like Fort Dodge in some ways. But that's where Michigan and some of the great schools up there used to recruit a lot of their players was out of Detroit. They had great players.
Yeah.
What's his name? Jalen Rose, wasn't he from Detroit, or was he from Chicago? I can't remember. I can't remember.
But they that's I don't know. A lot of jobs left. The automobile industry.
Boy, they did.
Took a downturn, and but in some ways, I think they're trying to bounce back, and their sports teams are still, even though they haven't been strong lately, they seem to draw well. The Detroit Lions, they haven't won in decades, but yet they'll draw pretty well. They've got a loyal following up there, and I don't know how well the Tigers are drawing. The Pistons pretty much fill most of their games.
Well, basketball's gotten more popular in the last 25 years. Much more popular.
So it's you just never know. But it's there's no question when you look at the impact of sports teams in these cities, the amount of revenue they bring in.
Oh yeah,
is enormous when you think about the Cubs and even the White Sox. But I mean, people drive into Chicago. I mean. And spend money, stay in hotels, go to bars and restaurants, and it's huge. There's no question. And you get a superstar, especially in basketball, where they really market. And actually, all pro sports are getting this way, where they'll say LeBron James and the Lakers, or they'll say, Tom Brady and the Patriots. It's, you can see their marketing strategy by how they brand themselves, and a lot of people go to the games to see the players. Let's face it, and so that's whether it's football, basketball, baseball. Those superstars can really impact a community.
Yeah. Oh wow. And LeBron James, of course, is popular, and to go to Cleveland was kind of a hometown stop for him. He grew up in Akron, and of course he's getting up there in years now. But I have enjoyed watching LeBron play over the years. Certainly a man that big and powerful that can do all the things that he can. Of course, every now and then I still admit I call up an old YouTube video of Julius Erving when he was in the ABA, and all the black players had those big afros and mutton chops.
Yeah.
And they multicolored ball, and they'd all go down the players would go up and down the court, and the afros would be flying everywhere, and man, they played it great. That was so entertaining to watch.
It was.
Right.
Another guy that I think is going to carry a city is Patrick Mahomes at Kansas City.
You're right. You're absolutely correct.
He is. He's become a superstar in NFL MVP last year, and just looks like he's going to have another great year. And it's funny how one guy like that can just energize a city like that.
Yeah.
And
Mahomes has a personality too.
He does.
He's got that big smile, and he's a friendly guy, and he's very, very competitive. And
the thing that's hard to believe is he's only 23 years old.
It's a remarkable thing.
I mean,
Kansas City, I'll tell you, I've asked this question a couple of times over the years. If they would have had Kareem Hunt as running back, I wonder if they'd have gone a little farther, because Kansas City just barely missed being in the Super Bowl.
Right.
Of course, Kareem, I thought that they were a little too hard on Kareem Hunt. I'm not justifying for a moment kicking some girl and shoving her down. There has to be punishment and severe punishment. And now he's in Cleveland. We'll see what happens there. But anyway, Randy Kuhlman's our guest. We're talking sports. We'll come back in a minute, and the question will be, Gary Barta, why? This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
That's the goal, to make radio great again. I think we've got it done. It's 4:31. The news is next.
When severe weather threatens, keep it here for the Severe Weather Advisor. Brought to you by Creative Signs and Graphics Fort Dodge. For signs, decals, vehicle graphics, magnets, logos, customized documents, and more. If your business needs it, Creative Signs and Graphics can make it. And a stitch above the rest embroidery, Fort Dodge. Step out in style with quality brands, timely turnaround, and professional service. A stitch above the rest. Embroidery professionals worth finding. Remember, when severe weather threatens, stay with your friends on KVFD.
It won't be long before the kids will be back in school. Got your to-do list ready? School supplies? Check. School clothes? Check. School sport physical? Not check. Better call Active Health Chiropractic today. At Active Health Chiropractic, they offer sport physicals for kids in grade school through high school. As part of their school sport physical, they'll also do a pre-concussion screening. Call today and schedule an appointment for your star athlete. Active Health Chiropractic, Fort Dodge.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. September corn up 10 1/4 cents at $3.71. December up 9 3/4 at $3.80 3/4. March up 9 1/4 at $3.92 3/4. May up 8 3/4 at $4 even. September soybeans up 9 1/4 at $8.67 1/4. November up 9 cents at $8.79 3/4. January up 9 1/4 at $8.93 1/2. March up 9 1/2 at $9.06 1/2. September wheat closed up 1 3/4 at $4.70 3/4. Soybean meal up $3.10 a ton at $2.94.90. August live cattle down 27 cents at $99.92. October down 47 at $98.05. August feeders down 120 at $134.57. September down 92 at $132.37. October lean hogs closed down the $3 limit at $62, and December down $2.97 at $60.77. From the Alpha Media Farm Desk, I'm Dwayne Murley.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. A new candidate in the upcoming Fort Dodge City Council election has been announced. Justin Myers has entered the race for the council seat to represent Ward 2. Councilman Dean Hill currently represents the city's 2nd Ward, and there's been no announcement yet whether Hill will seek re-election. Myers joins Councilman Terry Minke and Kim Allstott as the only candidates to file nominating petitions thus far. Fort Dodge Mayor Matt Bemrick was a guest on Devine's Intervention with Mike Devine. The largest point of discussion during the mayor's appearance was the possible sale of the Crossroads Mall and the recent news that an offer has been made. The mayor says that the name of the possible buyer has not been disclosed as of this time.
There has been an offer made to purchase and agreed upon terms. It hasn't been disclosed. And that's at the request of the person that made the offer. And I understand why. They have now a 120-day due diligence period where they're going to go in and do inspections. They're going to have someone do a review of the leases. They'll be looking into things like the cross-parking and cross-access agreements that date back into the 60s because they don't want that to become a detriment to redevelopment. And they'll be putting together a plan on how they would build new spaces and then eventually tear down the mall.
When asked if he knew of the specific plans the prospective buyer would have with the mall site, the mayor had this to say.
I don't. I talked to them in over the last number of days and leading up to the council meeting Monday, and then we had a big meeting on Tuesday. They have a neat vision, and they keep referring to like the Jordan Creek type drivable shopping area, no big Jordan Creek type mall.
Right.
The drivable area where you have strip malls. They're even talking about mixed use where you'd have retail and residential above. They're talking about service industries. You could have restaurants, bars, public spaces where there'd be courtyards or gathering spaces for the public to hang out on park benches or sit by a fountain.
A Fort Dodge man accused of breaking into the Tropical Smoothie location on 5th Avenue South in late June has been arrested and appeared in court yesterday. 24-year-old Tennessee Ferry is charged with third-degree burglary after police say he broke into Tropical Smoothie on June 30th after business hours. Allegedly, Ferry gained entry by removing the drive-through window and stole a cash box with just over $1,400 in it. Last month, police seized the cash box and clothing that surveillance footage showed the perpetrator was wearing. Ferry is being held in the Webster County Jail on a $5,000 bond. He's due back in court on August the 23rd. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. A mix of clouds and sun this afternoon with a high of 79. Northwesterly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies and quiet. Tonight, lows around 59. High of 81 tomorrow. Chance for scattered storms Sunday with highs in the low 80s. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times Monday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 78.
Hi, I'm Jamie Brundage, owner of Historic Bruce Funeral Home. When you're planning the memorialization of your loved one, you're telling their story and sharing special memories with your family and friends. At Historic Bruce Funeral Home, we're proud to help you celebrate the life of your loved one, and we're here to guide you with your selections as we help you and your family say goodbye in a way that's right for you. Our staff is committed to compassionate care and attention to detail. Historic Bruce Funeral Home, Fort Dodge. Online at brucesfuneralhome.com.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge, 437. The obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce's Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South, Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce's Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucesfuneralhome.com. Susie Long, 54, of Eagle Grove, has died. Susie Russell Long of Eagle Grove died last Wednesday. Mass of Christian burial for Susie Russell Long will be held August 19th at 10:30 in the morning at Sacred Heart Catholic Church in Eagle Grove. Obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce's Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South, Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce's Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucesfuneralhome.com. 438 at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Come closer. I want your rack. Your great big rack.
Stop dreaming about big racks and put one on your wall. Head for the Iowa Outdoor Store for a full line of accessories for your bow. Bring it in with you and they'll make sure it's ready for the season. Need a new bow? Then check out the new Hoyt Carbon RX3, the aluminum helix, and the Matthews Vertex bow. They even have entry-level bows starting at just $299. Make your big rack dreams come true with help from the Iowa Outdoor Store at the junction of Highway 7 and 169, Fort Dodge.
It may not be stomach issues.
For me, it's intense gas, or pain, or diarrhea, sometimes all at once, over and over.
I spent years with the symptoms but could never figure it out.
No matter what I did, they never went away. So I decided to break it down for my doctor and get really specific about my symptoms.
We discovered that exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, may be the reason for my stomach issues.
EPI is caused by my pancreas. It leads to diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools. The symptoms just don't go away.
But EPI can show up with even one symptom.
The good news? EPI is manageable.
But to get to the right diagnosis, you have to break it down for your doctor and get specific about the severity of your symptoms.
Visit identifyepi.com to learn more and use the symptom checker to help change the conversation with your doctor. Brought to you by AbbVie.
Doors are being slammed in your face, and bad credit is holding you back from buying a house, car, even getting a credit card. $99 can put your credit back to a 720 or higher. Bankruptcy, tax liens, judgments, and even late pays can be removed from credit reports by calling the Giving Days Foundation. 800-543-5772. Don't miss this great free credit repair. Just be one of the first 10 callers. 800-543-5772.
Need a new roof? Have you considered that there's very few roofers to choose from, and come September, everyone at once will decide their roof must be completed before winter? The last thing you want is the winter roof that will never seal properly, or an improperly installed roof done by a contractor you may never see again. Don't wait any longer. Call Hahn Roofing today, and in most cases, they can start your project within 2 weeks and finish within 1 or 2 days. Call Hahn Roofing today for your free estimate. 515-573-7440. That's Hahn Roofing, 515-573-7440.
Ever wonder why Europeans seem to speak so many languages? Maybe it's because they use Babbel, the #1 selling language learning app in Europe. Babbel's award-winning technology gets you speaking right away, whether you're learning Spanish, French, or German. And best of all, you'll remember what you've learned.
I always thought I was bad at languages, but after using Babbel, I can tell you I was just taught the wrong way.
Using Babbel's 10 to 15-minute lessons, you can be speaking confidently in your new language within weeks.
I was amazed that I could start having real-life conversations right away. It was so fast. Now I'm speaking Spanish. Woohoo!
No wonder Babbel is the #1 selling language learning app in Europe. Try it for yourself and see why Babbel is the quick way to get conversational in a new language, like Spanish, French, or more. You can try Babbel for free. Go to Babbel.com or download the app and try it for free. That's Babbel, Babbel.com, or download the app to try it for free. That's Babbel.com.
Sounds like you've got the crud. Cough, fever, sinus pressure, body aches. What should you take? Which over-the-counter medicine is best? You sure don't know, but the people at Daniel Pharmacy do. The pharmacists and technicians at Daniel Pharmacy are ready to help. They drop what they're doing, ask you what you're looking for, go down the aisle with you, and help you find the best medication for your symptoms. Daniel Pharmacy, caring for you and about you for over 50 years at 1114 Central Avenue, downtown Fort Dodge.
Divine Intervention is online at yourfortdodge.com, on Twitter at JMike1400.
This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine, and we're talking sports Friday morning, of course, with Randy Kuhlman. Nevin Mulholland not here, so we can talk about him all we want, I guess. No, we don't want to do that. Nevin's a good guy and a great Cub fan, and again, I'm sorry he didn't come in today simply because the Cubs blew another one in the 9th inning last night, and I wanted to commiserate. I wanted to. Misery loves company, and I thought Nevin and I could console over the fact that the Cubs bullpen once again blew it. Right before the break, I told Randy, and I tried to tell everybody that our topic of conversation was going to be Gary Barta. Why? So he got a big contract extension. Why? Randy, you went to the University of Iowa. You're an alumni. What happened there? What is it about the University of Iowa? This is what I really think, that there is diminished expectations at the University of Iowa, that we're just not going to do that well. So as long as we're making money with the sports programs, specifically football and basketball, we're okay, and we ought to reward those who are bringing money to the programs. That would be Barta, Ferentz, and Fran McCaffrey, surprisingly enough. The wrestling program, as much as I like wrestling, doesn't make any money. And as a matter of fact, football and basketball support all the other athletic programs, male and female,
right, at
the University of Iowa. And that's the way it is in most
everywhere.
Universities, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's pros and cons. I'm not a big Barta fan, but heck, everybody, if you saw the football salaries, if you saw Barta's, they all got 19% raises.
Yeah.
Who gets a 19% raise anymore? Putting
a product on the field or on the court that looks like that.
Yeah, and when you look at last year athletically at Iowa, the Hawkeyes had a good football season. They competed hard for that championship. They didn't get there, but then they went to the bowl game and beat a good Mississippi State team.
Yeah.
In their bowl game.
Mississippi was good, but they're not one of the top dogs in the country.
No, but still finished the season with, they beat Nebraska, and then they went to a bowl game and beat Mississippi State. Had a good football season. The basketball team, didn't have the year that people were hoping that they were going to have, but they did make the NCAA tournament and won their first game and had a decent year. The women's basketball team had a phenomenal year. And Lisa Bluter there has done a great job, and she had a tremendous year. They had the College Player of the Year on their team. They won the Big Ten, and so overall, when you start looking at athletics last year, you'd have to say Iowa had a successful year. You throw that up against the wall compared to a $6.5 million lawsuit that BARDA got him into, and
and they shouldn't have lost that. I believe even Nevin mentioned that BARDA did not document these incidents of discipline with the two gay people. The one was an assistant athletic director, I believe, and the other was the
field hockey.
Field hockey. Yeah. Thank you very much. Something that isn't played in the Midwest, by the way. It's just a Title IX thing. But if he'd have documented these incidents of what he saw as insubordination, and frankly, what I saw as gross insubordination, we wouldn't have got there. So yeah, that is on BARDA.
Yeah.
From a legal standpoint.
I agree.
I'm not the attorney Nevin is, but I'm sure Nevin's been down that road a couple of times, and that was that was
you don't
totally
have to be an
BARDA.
attorney to figure that out. That if you're dealing with people that are protected class, both in terms of sexual orientation as well as age. The assistant AD was in her late 40s, early 50s.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's just and usually it's what's really.
If he
unusual,
didn't know that, I know that here at the radio station.
I know.
You have to document.
See, I just think it's arrogance. I really do. I think he just felt, hey, I don't have to do that. I'm Gary Barta. I'm the athletic director at Iowa. And
I'm a big deal.
But so it is what it is. But going into the thing that's exciting right now is we're 16th of August. We're 2 weeks away from the start of college football. Basically, everybody's undefeated. Everybody's thinking this is going to be their year.
The big year.
And
what do you think about your old schooler, University of Iowa?
Well, I hope they have a great year. They're ranked 19th by most polls, which kind of surprises me, but because the Hawks have a lot of holes to fill, especially on defense. And, well, even on offense, we lost two great tight ends, and we lost our best wide receiver in Easley. So there's a few holes there to fill. Yeah, we got a quarterback coming back that's experienced, and Nate Stanley that could have a fantastic year, or he could have a mediocre year. We don't know.
Nevin's always been big on Stanley, and because he looks like a big pro quarterback for the next generation. Big, strong, young guy, but we haven't seen that much from him yet. And maybe is this his senior year?
This will be his senior year. I mean, his statistics are impressive. He's thrown a lot of touchdowns. He may end up owning the Iowa passing records for touchdown passes, but the thing about Stanley that people question, and I do too, is he's had games when Iowa had the big game. I remember going up to play a big game last year at Penn State, and he was just horrible. I mean, it's one thing to be average, but he had just a horrible game.
Was that all his fault, or the play calling?
No, it was just some really bad throws, bad decisions under pressure. He seems to panic at times. And then we had a big game at Wisconsin, and I think that was that last year.
Oh, yeah.
And he had another horrible game. I mean, just awful. And where we're not even competitive in the game. And
that's really bad, isn't it?
And then he might come back the next week and just look phenomenal. Like he had a phenomenal game against Indiana last year, and he looked like one of the best quarterbacks in the country.
But you just hit on it there. Wisconsin's a good team. They put out a good team every single year, and Indiana does it. So it's pretty easy to look much better against Indiana than it is against Wisconsin.
Yeah.
All due respect to the Hoosiers, ladies and gentlemen.
But I think the biggest question mark for the Hawks is going to be our defense. We lost some really good players on the defensive side of the field this past year, and we've got two new linebackers are going to be playing. One or two defensive backs are going to be young and new. Our defensive line, even though they have some experience, most of them weren't starters last year. They did play a lot, but now they have to step in roles. And of course, Epinesa is actually picked by many to be the best defensive lineman in the country, and so we're all hoping that he's going to have a phenomenal year. But guys like that, when you're that good, what do they do to you? They double team you.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
and so so the other guys on the defensive line are going to have to take advantage of that, because he's going to get double teamed, and so they're going to have to come through and make big plays for the Hawks on the defensive side of the ball. So we're going to have 2 young linebackers out of 3 in there, so it'll be interesting to see how they do on the defensive side of the ball.
I'm still an old Hawkeye fan when we get right down to it. I think Kinnick Stadium is one of the great football stadiums in the country.
Yes, I do too.
Out in a neighborhood like that. You know?
I'm excited to see it. They've got the north end zone completed now, and my understanding it's a pretty neat facility down there. That now that they get the north end zone completed, and it gets loud at Kinnick.
It does, doesn't it?
The fans are loud, and they're right on top of you, and there's a lot of people. A lot of teams will tell you that's one of the worst places for them to come in and play at.
Oh, yeah.
Because everybody's so close to the field, and the fans do getting involved in the game.
But that's what's so great about Kinnick for the fans.
Oh, absolutely.
I know. I've been down to plenty of Hawkeye games, you know, and every now and then the game has to stop because the crowd's so loud that the quarterback nobody can hear the quarterback's count. But that's all part of.
Well, they don't do that anymore.
They don't do it anymore.
Oh heck no. You gotta.
You just gotta yell, huh?
Yeah, you gotta yell, and many times they have to go on a silent count. And
when did that change? Randy?
Oh geez, it's been 10 years at least.
Oh really? That long?
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm behind the
times
they did
as
usual.
They did away with that delay of game rule years ago, and. So it'll be, and the other thing that the Hawks unfortunately have going against them this year is their schedule. They've got a tough road schedule. I was just looking at it this morning, Mike. You know, the Hawks play. They have to play Northwestern, Wisconsin, and Nebraska on the road, as well as Michigan.
Oh.
So there's 4 road games there that are going to be tough games against good competition. And that West Division is going to be interesting because it's going to really be balanced this year. Because you've got some people have picked Iowa to win the West. Some others are picking Nebraska actually to win the West. And then there's been 1 or 2 that have picked Wisconsin again.
Mm-hmm.
And Wisconsin's got one of the top running backs in the country coming back against always a good offensive line that they have. So they're going to be tough.
Yeah.
And Northwestern, people have a lot of respect for them. So there's a lot of parity in the West. That's going to be interesting to see how all that shakes out for the Hawks.
That's for sure. That is for sure.
And then the Clones, of course, they're sky high, and they should be with everybody coming back that they've got, and a good young quarterback in Purdy. And
boy, he is a good young quarterback.
And their schedule is somewhat favorable. And I was looking at their schedule this morning as well. You know, they've got Iowa at home this year, which will be an absolutely huge game. And quite honestly, the ESPN's game day may end up there in Ames this year, which would be fun. Yeah,
that'd be great.
Yeah, it would be. And that's a 3:00 game, so that'll get crazy. And then they've got they have to play Oklahoma at Oklahoma, and then they turn around and get Texas at home the next week, and that's going to be 2 big weeks in a row for the Clones. It's almost too bad that they got Oklahoma, Texas back to back.
Yeah,
but that Texas coming into Iowa State could literally be ranked in the top 10 or top 15 if they win their games. If they beat, I see that it came out yesterday that they're a 4-point favorite over the Hawks, and then but you look at their schedule, they've got Louisiana and Monroe after Northern Iowa, TCU at Iowa State. And TCU is always going to be competitive, so that'll be a big game. And then they've got to go to West Virginia, and then they've got to go to Texas Tech, Then they get Oklahoma State at Oklahoma, and then at Texas back in Ames, Kansas in Ames, and then they finish up at Kansas State. So it could really be interesting with Iowa State could have just maybe one loss, with that Texas coming in, which may only have no losses or one loss. I think Texas and Oklahoma probably play each other before that Iowa State game. So one of those two teams is going to have a loss when they play Iowa State. So
I do want to mention that it looks like David Montgomery, who played for the Cyclones last year, is going to get a lot of playing time with the Chicago Bears this year, which is really good.
There's a lot of buzz in Chicago about Montgomery, and the Bears play tonight, so I'm interested to watch that. Yeah, that's on TV tonight. Their second preseason game. Their first preseason game, Montgomery only carried the ball 3 times, but one of them was for a 6-yard touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And then he caught 3 passes for some yardage. So they are high on him. They feel like he's got everything that it's going to take to have a great career in the NFL, and he's a great young man. So hopefully he'll stay healthy and have a lot of success with the Bears. And I'm telling you,
that's what the Bears have been lacking for a long time. When was the last time you heard about a good, strong running back coming out of
Well, they
Chicago?
had a couple of years. They had the Howard kid from Indiana that had he was rookie of the year, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. But
is that all longer than ago?
Oh yeah.
But what happened to him?
He got hurt a little bit, and then they moved him on. I think he's with Philadelphia now.
Right.
So Montgomery's a good pickup for them. It's a good spot for him, and so the Bears, people are excited about the Bears. I'm a Bears fan, and the fans, the sports writers in Chicago think this could be a big year for them. With they've got a really good defense, and they've now got a quarterback that looks like is the real deal. So it'll be interesting to see a lot of changes. Green Bay's got a new coach with Aaron Rodgers up there, and
Rodgers. We're getting ready for another generational change in our National Football League quarterbacks. Rodgers in his mid-30s, Roethlisberger in his mid-30s, Brady's 42. And he has the worst diet imaginable. By the way, Google Tom Brady's diet, ladies and gentlemen. See what that guy eats to stay healthy. Boy, that's a sacrifice, I gotta tell you.
Wow, yeah. There's and Drew Brees, another guy that's 39 or 40?
He's 40 years old. Yeah, great quarterback. We don't appreciate him enough because he's down there with New Orleans, but he's still tough. He is he is a pugnacious quarterback. He's not afraid.
He's a tough competitor.
He is.
And he stays in great shape too, and
he does, man.
Has been able to avoid injury.
Yes, he has.
For the most part, and so I think it's interesting. Other than Brady, most of these NFL quarterbacks are becoming guys that have to be mobile.
Yeah,
they have to be able to get out of the pocket so they're not getting killed in that pocket.
Right.
And then,
I've seen Drew Brees get hit so many times. He's not a big guy either.
But
he bounces right up.
But he's quick, and he'll get out of the pocket a little bit and extend plays. And you look at Mahomes is that way. He gets out of that pocket. So the days of the Joe Flaccos of the world, where they just stand back there and and that works well if your offensive line does a great job.
Yeah.
And but things break down. The blitz packages nowadays are so complex. It's amazing. And these teams, I watched the game last night with Kyler Murray. That the new quarterback from Oklahoma that's at Arizona, and he just got killed. Arizona looked horrible. It was 24-0 against Oakland with 8 minutes to go in the first half, and Arizona and Murray did not look good because he was running for his life.
Yeah,
and so the team that has that really good offensive line, and that's true in college football as well. But in the NFL with the passing game, you've got to be able to protect your quarterback and run the ball a little bit. And And I think that was the problem with the Vikings last year. Cousins got criticized a lot for not having a great year, but he was running for his life all the time too. They didn't have a very good offensive line.
That's a good point, fans, and I'll include myself in this. You think you get a great player or a really good player, and that player is going to elevate the whole team. Well, he can. However, it is a team sport. I mean, you do have to have that offensive line, and if you don't have the offensive line, Brady, for God's sake, has benefited the most from a strong offensive line and some good receivers as well. I'm not taking anything away from him.
Right.
But he's the old school drop back quarterback.
Right.
He's not real mobile, never has been.
No. And the thing that's always been amazing about Belichick in the Patriots is they their personnel changes all the time, but their success doesn't. They're always successful. I mean, it's amazing how Belichick has been able to take players and mold them into his system and be very, very successful. And then they move on and you don't hear of them anymore. I mean, it's just really, you almost have to just say this guy might be the greatest coach that's ever coached in professional football.
I'd have to say he is.
I mean, the statistics show that, but the way they've done it, they take these players, they come in, and maybe they were average for somebody else, and all of a sudden they're very productive for the Patriots. And Belichick's assistant coaches have moved on, haven't had that much success.
Mm-hmm.
You've got, when you think of some of the assistants that were under Belichick that then landed head jobs and weren't all that successful. So it doesn't seem to translate outside that system. And so it's interesting to see that. But, again, it gets back to that offensive line last night for Arizona. It looked like a sieve, my God. And Oakland looked like world beaters. And I don't know if they're that good or if Arizona's that bad. I'm a big David Johnson fan. The UNI running back that's, is a really good running back for Arizona. He didn't have a chance. They hand the ball off, and he looks up, and there was 3 Oakland Raiders right in his face as soon as he got the ball. So
never good.
No. So that offensive line is critical for running backs and quarterbacks in particular. And you can be a great quarterback if you're behind a bad offensive line. You're probably not going to look too good.
You want to talk about successful assistant coaches who moved on. Go back to the 1980s and see a picture of Hayden Fry and his coaching staff.
Oh, huge.
In the 1980s. Dan McCarney was
his coaching
there.
Tree, something else.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is. It's unbelievable. Kirk Ferentz was there.
Stoops
was there.
brothers.
Yeah.
And Barry Alvarez.
That's Barry Alvarez, right. God, I remember Barry Alvarez was a high school coach in Mason
City, yeah.
Randy Coleman's been our guest. We've been talking sports. Thanks, Randy.
You bet.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
If you're a gearhead or not, you'll enjoy the Under the Hood Car Show every Saturday afternoon from 2 till 4 on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
From the Fox Business Network, stocks closing in the green for the day, but down for the week, their third consecutive weekly loss. This week, markets were rattled by growing U.S.-China trade tensions and signals from the bond market that spark fears of impending recession. Among the gainers today, tech and financials. The Dow winners, Apple, J.P. Morgan Chase, and 3M. The Dow rising 307 points, the Nasdaq up 129, S&P 500 up 41. And home building falling in the U.S. for a third straight month in July, but permits rose, creating optimism. Housing starts dropping 4% according to the Commerce Department, driven by a decline in the construction of apartment buildings. And Banana Republic will be launching Style Passport. That's a new online rental subscription service that provides unlimited access to its women's apparel collection. The brand will be rolling out the service at the end of September to customers in the U.S. with the goal of adding men's apparel at a later date. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Hillary Barsky.
Baseball season is in full swing. It's a good thing Matt secured his denture with Super Polygrip. Now he can enjoy the snacks as much as the game.
Polygrip. Hey, how are you? So great to see you.
It's that time of year when the family meets up.
Hi, come on. Get together, guys. Family photo.
It's a good thing Jack cleans his denture with Polydent so he can enjoy the whole day with confidence.
Polydent.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Lows dip down to about 58 tonight under mainly clear skies, southwesterly winds around 5 miles an hour. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times tomorrow, daytime highs approaching 82. Cloudy skies tomorrow night, scattered thunderstorms likely, lows level off around 66. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm staff meteorologist Derek Height. Currently, it's 78 degrees.
Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, broadcasting from the Dollar Car Rental Studio. This is the Dave Ramsey Show, where America hangs out to have a conversation about your life and your money. And sitting in for Dave, I'm Chris Hogan. I'm excited to be with you. But guess what, America? I'm also joined in studio by national bestselling author Rachel Cruz. Rachel, how are you?
Chris Hogan, thanks for letting me join.
Oh, it's listen
like the
to
co-pilot
you. Listen
of the
you.
hour.
Yes, co-pilot. Yeah, thank you. Yes.
You're still in charge.
Oh,
I'm not confused.
I need to
I'm
get
not
that.
confused.
I need to record that and just walk around playing it in the office. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Are you feeling good?
I'm feeling good.
Okay.
Hit the 30-week mark of pregnancy in August, which is
it's
hot.
Big.
It's hot outside.
It is hot outside.
Yeah. No, but I'm feeling good. Yeah, a lot of fun stuff going on, and yeah, it's been good.
Fantastic. Now, are you still in filming the Rachel Cruz Show?
Yes. So we are in full production of that, and actually I'll be taking maternity leave, obviously, after having the baby. So we're pre-recording a bunch of shows just to still have fresh content and all of that. So it will continue on. New episodes will still be released even though I'm not in the office. So it's been good. And this last one, you may know this, but we pick up the audio from the video version of the show and created a podcast. And so I'll go in and do extra teaching and stuff around that for the podcast. And this last one hit the highest number we've had of all podcasts in the shortest amount of time. Of this last episode, which was all about credit cards. And so it's a touchy subject. People are very offended when you talk about not having a credit card.
Were they really?
Oh, gosh. Well, we always get pushback.
Yes.
I mean, that's like the one area. Because mathematically, you look at a car loan and you're like, yeah, mathematically, that's stupid because it goes down in value, but you're paying interest. Like, you can work your way around different types of debt. But credit cards specifically, it's the touchy one. So we went head on. We actually did a 2-part episode on the subject in total. So that's the most recent one.
You're telling me you got tough on this topic.
We did.
Okay.
And it was fascinating because, you pull all of the numbers and the stats from what everyone says. Okay, well, I get the airline miles and I get the points. And we took the average of the average consumer and what they actually use, which is the average person doesn't even use the points.
Right.
You know that.
That's right.
But you take it and you look and you say, okay, how much money do they have to spend in order to get this stuff? And it's just ridiculous. I mean, you just look at the math side of it. And so that was a fun kind of experiment we did.
That is fantastic. So where can people go to find out about the Rachel Cruz Show as well as your podcast?
Yes. Well, podcast, anywhere podcasts you listen. And then the show is YouTube and Facebook.
Fantastic.
Yes.
And go learn all that by going to rachelcruz.com.
Yes, you can do that as well.
Fantastic. America. So listen, go check it out. Rachel and I, she has a lot of fun, but she tricked me into doing something on her show not long ago. Yes. And I want you to go over and check it out. All I'm going to say is helium. Okay.
Helium and Chris Hogan's voice.
Normal voice.
And it was the most fantastic, one of the most fantastic moments of my life.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it anymore. But you can go over there and find out more about it.
He gave financial advice just with a voice that is not the Chris Hogan voice.
Very
and
high
it was
pitched voice. Yeah,
it was
kinda,
fantastic.
It's kind of scary. So, America, listen, if you've got a question about money, we want you to call us. Rachel and I are here to talk with you. That number to call is 888-825-5225. Again, that's 888-825-5225, or find us on social. You can find me at Chris Hogan 360, or you can find her at Rachel Cruz. Okay, I'm going to get back to the phone here, Rachel. We've got Tiffany on the line. Tiffany, how can I help you?
Hi, it's an honor to talk to you two.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to hear from you.
Thanks for calling in.
How can we help you?
So our current situation is, I guess, I'm trying to figure out if my husband and myself are being wise and maybe gain some insight on how to negotiate with a builder on lowering the house cost in order to pay for the home in cash.
Ooh.
So I am 37. My husband is 39. We have 2 kids, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. We currently live in a paid-for home and have for approximately 2 years. So we are completely debt-free.
Fantastic.
We've been, investing, and we've been saving a lot of money to put down on our new property, which we've found a builder, and we signed a lot agreement already and put some money down on the lot. The original cost of the home, of course, was a little bit lower, and now as we're looking at what we'd ultimately want, I think it might be about $20,000 over what we will have available in cash.
Okay, Tiffany, tell me this. Let's get into the numbers. How much have you all saved toward this project?
So we currently have $281,000 saved.
Okay.
With the sale of our current home, I would estimate that we would end up with an additional $255,000. In addition to that, we have some mutual funds that are outside of our investments that we could take out around $10,000. And then my husband also does some side work where he repairs small engines. So we have income from that. It's not steady, so it's hard to say how much we will be able to earn.
What is your all's household income, Tiffany?
We make $6,200 a month after we paid for insurance.
Okay. So tell me this. How big was the house you all are currently living in?
It's about $1,400 up and down.
So Tiffany, I'm curious, the $20,000 extra that you're doing, is that because you've gotten into this process, and is it the square footage that's making it more expensive? Is it the finishes you're wanting? Like what is adding to the cost?
So what's adding to the cost is we are expanding the garage, and we're doing this partially for my husband's side business that he has. He needs space, and we will be losing a shed because of the HOA in the area that we're going to be in. It is an attached garage, so structurally we would have to do it now. I don't think it would be a wise choice to add on to later.
Yeah.
The other thing would be doing a maintenance-free deck as opposed to a cedar deck, which is more expensive. I am willing to wait on